Getting started right now.
Civil defense officials use murder victims.
The searchlights are in position. The guns are ready. The People's Army of Volunteers is ready. They are the ones who are really fighting this war. The firemen, the air raid wardens, the ambulance drivers.
Can I have some candy? Just try and get to him.
There's a gun, bullets. We know we'll be into it most of the nerve. Yes or no, this is your last chance. No beating around the bush.
And there's the wail of the banshee again. This time a friendly wail. The all-clear signal tells us that the bomb has been dropped. The strange new world finds peace.
Well, that's pretty hard to say. We don't know how many of them there are. We know when we find them, we can kill them.
Right, guys, we're gonna get started soon. We got Gnostic Informant here, so get freaking heckin' hype. Let's see what we got here. Do we have a couple of guys in the chat? Let's see. A couple of little fellas. We got Mike Inks. He says, I stepped away from the birth of my child to see this stream. It was a great decision on your part. People are pretty pumped. Helgi says, been waiting my whole life for this exact stream. Pretty cool. See what else we got. We got cooking. Ethan Van Skyver just stopped streaming. He's ducking you. And he's ducking me? He stopped streaming? What does that mean? He stopped streaming forever?
Me?
No. Some guy. Some Ethan Van Skyver. It's this comic book artist.
Oh, nice. You're in the comic book world. You know all that stuff.
Yeah, I just launched my second graphic novel. You know, should we just freaking hecking go live?
Butch Killer. What is his name? Butch. What is it?
Butch Killigan.
Butch Killigan. That's
yeah.
dope, man. I saw that.
Here, we're just gonna go live. Who gives a fuck? Look, we're live. Guys,
Live.
hi chat.
We're
We're live
live.
with Gnostic Informant. Check it out. Here he is. Look at this guy.
What's going on?
Hey, man. Yeah, nice to finally talk to you. I've been a huge watcher of all your videos. Here, guys, I'll pull up the YouTube channel real quick. Check it out. Go subscribe to Gnostic Informant. Not that he needs any more subscribers. Look at this fucking guy's killing it. I saw this video. I'm going to watch this after the stream. Heated discussion with Rabbi about the Torah. I gewalt.
Yeah, that got heated.
Really? You got mad at him? That guy fucking sucks.
No, he got mad at me. He got mad at me.
Oh, yeah, of course. They tend to do
I don't
that.
think he's talked to me since that day, actually.
Oh. Yeah, I've seen him in a bunch of those Rabbi compilations. Wait, let me do a quick, let me ask the chat real quick. Can you guys hear us? Can you hear, should I just call you Neil?
Yeah, you call me Neil.
Or should I call you Gnostic Informant over and over and
You
over?
call me Neil. I'm not a real Gnostic. The name is just like a comic book name, you know?
Yeah. So I think, wait, let's see if the chat can tell me if everything's good here. You guys can hear us? Yeah, you guys hear you both just fine. Hear us both, but just fine. Pretty cool. Good. All right, yeah, so I think you caught wind of me one time talking about Gnosticism on one of my streams, and I went over the whole story real quick. Maybe we should do that real briefly just to...
Yeah.
Let's see. Sven is a little quiet. Yeah, I know. There's something wrong with my fucking microphone cable. We just had issues with the sound check a little bit. My microphone is on the fritz, it seems.
Mine's always super loud, so I turn it down this time, so hopefully it's good.
Okay, good. Hopefully we found a nice balance here, but yeah.
Right.
So, oh yeah, I also saw a banger stream that you did on Break the Rules podcast with Adam Green on there. That was a really good one.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of cool info there, so I definitely recommend people to go check that one out. Although it's such an info bomb, these streams. You guys are literally, I was telling Adam Green about this, it was on his stream a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, which the interview went well, but then my internet fucking shit to bed, which sucks, so let's hope that doesn't happen today, knock the wood. But yeah, I was saying, like, you guys are almost like, you got to be like a theologian level guy. Look at all those books you've got behind you there. You read all of those, huh?
Yeah, every single one of these I've at least flipped through or used as a reference at some point.
Look at that.
That's all. It's all these white books. That's all Oxford translations of ancient texts. The black ones are all Penguin translations of ancient texts, and then this is all like pseudepigrapha, apocryphal texts of the New Testament, ancient history Rome books and stuff like that over here.
Yeah, yes. So I was saying, like all this information, you almost have to be a theologian. By the way, is there? I've heard this before. Did you started to get into this stuff when you were in prison or something, or is that something you don't want to talk about? Really?
No, I talk about it all the time. Yeah, when I went to prison in 2011 when I turned 21 in prison, by the way.
Jesus.
And I'm 30. I just turned 35 a couple days ago. This
what
was
the fuck?
pretty much half my life ago. So.
All right. And then
did a 18-month little stint, and I started reading the Bible cover to cover. Started reading other texts in that. Borrowed a Quran from one of the Muslims. By the way, in New York State. You know what the deepest gang is in New York State? Not the Bloods. It's definitely not the Crips. There's hardly any Crips in New York. That's a California thing. It's not the Woods, the white boys. It's the Muslims.
The Muslims, huh?
The Muslims are the deepest gang in all the prison world in New York State. I did not know that until I got there.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, yeah, I think in the Netherlands is probably similar. They run the prison system over there too. I think the prisoners within the prison, obviously, but you were a Christian before, and then when you actually started to dig way deep into it during your little stint in prison there, that's where you got some revelations of your own.
Oh, it's actually a little bit different. I became a Christian in prison.
Oh.
It helped me turn my life around. So whatever. It is what it is. Some people need it. Some people don't.
Yeah.
When I got out and I started joining a church, and that's when I started to use the internet and started to look into things more, started reading more deeper into things, and I studied my way out of Christianity.
Okay, I see.
It's actually because of one little thing. I was at a church that was King James only. I don't know if you ever heard of this.
That's the
King James Bible.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
People say
it's
that's
the King
the
James
best
Bible's
one.
at 6. Go ahead.
People say that's the best one, the King James Bible.
That's what these people thought. These people, the church that I was at, these people were like, "It's the only pure Bible. All the other Bibles are counterfeit." And this used to bother me because I used to be like, "Okay, this is something that I can actually check. I can actually go and I can actually compare the King James English translation to what these other original Greek manuscripts say, and see who's telling the truth. Is it these scholarly translations that are the devil, or is it the King James Bible?" And then I found out that the King James people were all stupid, And that was like the
Really?
first. That was like the first brick that fell of my wall of being a fundamentalist Christian. And ever since there, all the dominoes just fell one by one, and then I ended up saying, "This is just a bunch of psyop shit."
All right. Okay. Yeah. Let's get into that. Right. So Gnosticism, the title of your YouTube channel. Maybe I should just say what I understand about it, and you can correct me where I go wrong. Right. So, and for the audience too. So you got the Bible. It constitutes of a bunch of books written by apostles, and they eventually canonized by the church what books were going to be part of it and what not. And then eventually somewhere in the Nag Hammadi desert, they found a bunch of extra books written by guys like Judas and other Mary Magdalene. Did she write one of those? Did they find some of that stuff?
Well, they didn't write them. The people wrote them about them.
Yeah,
so there's a gospel about Mary. There's a gospel about Judas. There's a gospel about all of them. They're like spin-offs basically.
Yeah, but that's to say they were like legit documents that might as well have been canonized at some point. But for whatever reason, they decided these are heretical. These are the ones that are going to be part of the canon, right? Or no? Is that not exactly?
Yeah, and it's around the 3rd to 5th centuries when they start to decide like which books are going to be, because the Revelation's the last book of the Bible. That book didn't make it. People thought that book was heretical until like the 5th century.
Damn. Okay,
So that book barely, and the people whose book that was central to, there's a group called they actually call themselves the Illuminati, believe it or not, the Enlightened Ones.
Yeah.
They're led by a guy named what the hell was this guy's name? Can't remember his name right now, but this guy was like. No, he was like some prophet
Goldberg.
dude who was getting visions, and the only book that he.
One second, we get a
Question
super
for
chat. You
Gnostic
can hear
Informant.
this.
What is your opinion of the Christ's up theory, like Adam Green believes? And is mainstream Christianity worthwhile without Gnosticism?
Okay, so you can't hear these super chats coming.
No, I can't.
Okay, so they're asking, what is your opinion on the Christ psyop according to Adam Green? What is your opinion on that one? Do you have some disagreements?
Me and Adam Green agree on a lot of stuff. I think there was a guy named Jesus. I think there really was a guy, but I think the Gospels are completely fabrication. They're drawing from these motifs that are floating around in this time period. So like they're drawing from they're taking Old Testament motifs that are supposed to apply to the Messiah and just saying Jesus did that, even though he probably didn't.
Yeah.
And so I think we agree on like 90% of how we look at the New Testament and Christianity. He thinks the whole thing was made up. There was not even a guy, not even a historical Jesus at all.
All right.
But I think it doesn't even matter if there was a guy. All that matters is what was written down in the Gospels.
Yeah, but these motifs, you see a lot of these different Christ-like figures. They all have like 12 apostles. They all they die on a cross and they rise after 3 days and stuff like that, right? Like there's throughout history.
There are definitely tons of these motifs floating around, and even outside of Judaism and the pagan world. Like Dionysus is a god who is ritually torn apart and then resurrects into a new body, comes back in the flesh.
Didn't Prometheus also get ripped apart? Prometheus, didn't he also get ripped apart and put back together?
Prometheus gets chained up to a rock. And by the way, just like Jesus' blood, his blood gives you eternal life, Prometheus' blood will give you eternal life.
Yeah.
This is like 500 years before Jesus.
Yeah.
So like
exactly.
These motifs are so abundant, and so it's so obvious because even the church fathers in the 2nd century, like Justin Martyr, for example, he had to deal with this. Like theologians today don't have to deal with this anymore because the pagans are done. They're not around anymore, so they don't have to worry about like
there's no more opposition in that regard.
They don't have to worry about like things that they look like they're copying or whatever. But Justin Martyr, in one of his books, he wrote, "Hey, our God is just like Dionysus. He resurrects, and he's just like Asclepius. He heals the dead and makes people see again, and the lame start walking again. And he's just like Mithras, where he gives a Eucharist, and he starts going one by one. I don't know why he did this. He could have kept his mouth shut and not said anything, because he gives us a valuable piece of information. And this is around 150 AD. This is early on, right after the Gospels are like floating around. And he's sitting there going, why don't you guys accept us, you Romans? Why do you hate us so much? Our God is just like your gods. And it's like, He shouldn't have said that, because now people like me today can go back and go, see, look, even the Christians themselves are seeing this shit.
Yeah. And do you think like this archetype sort of like coming up? Because I've talked to Christians about this problem, and some of them explain it away. They go, well, that was like an archetypal embodiment prototype almost of the Christ. That came forth throughout history a couple of times. It kind of it's sort of like in the Matrix, where there were previous the ones until Neo perfected it, sort of like, which of course, and the Matrix is based on Gnosticism as well. So I thought maybe that is why a guy like Carl Jung, and we need to get into this too. He's the guy who found he on a black market or something. Maybe we should.
Yeah, he was one of the first people to get his hands on some of the Nag Hammadi text.
That seems insane to me.
It is insane, and I think there's no better person in the world that could have got. It's like that makes me. That's synchronicity. Like a movie.
That's synchronicity.
Yeah, it's like he's the greatest person that ever lived that should have gotten their hands on this text. Yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls was the opposite. They got into the hands of a bunch of theologians who wanted to keep it for themselves, and they were translating it wrong. They were making forgeries. They're doing all types of crazy shit. For like 50 years, we didn't know what was in them. But the Nag Hammadi, Carl Jung got a hold of them, and he went right to it, and like he brought this whole thing to everybody. So we're like lucky that he got his hands on it.
We're lucky that he got it, but let's not forget some other guys got their hands on the Nag Hammadi scrolls first. The people who dug them up from the desert, and this is another funny story for those of you who don't remember.
Crazy story.
So let me lead this in, and you tell me wherever I go wrong. Okay, so the way I heard of this is, so these ancient, super important manuscripts get dug up somewhere in the desert by a couple of inbred retards, let's just be honest. And instead of like thinking to themselves, oh, look at these vases with these scrolls in it, this has to be something valuable, they took them home and then they used them as fire kindling in their that's
what some of the sources say. Yeah,
and then some village elder through the grapevine heard that they had dug something up, and he quickly ran in there to stop them, but they had already burnt like 50% of these fucking ancient manuscript.
Yeah, we lost most of it, I think. I think so.
Christ.
We don't know because we never even found the cave that they found him in. So what happened was, this dude, his name is Muhammad Ali, this Muslim dude that was living down in Egypt. He was in a gang war, basically. This is serious. I'm not joking. There was like a gang war going on in this part of the world in 1945. This is like right after World War II just ended. It's like December 1945, I think they said it was. And this dude, he ended up getting arrested for this. He murdered somebody, some guy, some rival gang member. I don't even know if it was Sunni or Shia. I think there was just Sunni versus Sunni. I don't even know what the thing was, what the deal was, what the fights were over. But this guy ends up murdering somebody, taking his heart out. They cut him up and they cut him up with a knife. They take his heart out and they eat it.
Shit.
This is what the sources tell us.
All right.
This is what the antiquities people wrote down, because they arrested this guy for this.
Okay.
But then this guy apparently knows about the whole Nag Hammadi, where the caves were and all this stuff. And he's like leading authorities around the desert to all these like tombs and shit to try to find where the spot was. They never found it. They found out that he was an unreliable witness.
What the fuck?
But that guy, that guy basically was there, and like he knew what was going on, so that's why they ended up arresting him and all that stuff. Yeah. This guy, he's the guy who found it. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm just remembering it when he was there when they found it.
Okay, so the guy who ate the heart out of a guy's chest, he was
the guy who ate the heart is the guy who found it. His name is Muhammad Ali too, the same name as the boxer.
Okay, that's crazy.
And so when he tells the story to the authorities, he says, so at first I was scared to open it because I thought there was jinn in the what is it called, the
vase,
pots.
The pots.
Yeah, the pots. Because I thought if I opened up the pot, the jinn would come out and curse me or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, but then I realized there's probably treasure in there, so fuck it. So then he knocks it open, and sure enough, they find all this papyri. And then he takes it back to his family's estate. And that's when someone in their family was like, didn't care about it, and that's when there's another source that says that family was holding on to it for a while, and we're lucky we got to it as soon as we did because they were starting to like crumble. Mm-hmm. But then people were using it for like, fire, kindle, all types of stuff.
Christ, man!
So this guy just sitting on a gold mine doesn't even realize it, and he's worried about this gang war this whole time. But he ends up getting arrested. They find it. It gets on the market, and the antiquities people actually brought it to Carl Jung for a birthday present.
Oh wait, so
Carl Jung got it.
I was wondering how the fuck does Carl Jung find something like this on like a black market or an antiquity market? How does that even work? But somebody brought it to him.
So my understanding is because Carl Jung was already so into this stuff, he already had books written about. Because we before we found these texts, we knew that there was Gnostics. We know through secondary sources that talk about this stuff. We never had the primary text. Yeah. We just knew there's two major sources, or three actually. Epiphanius was a 4th century saint who wrote a book called Against Heresies, Panarion, and then Saint Hippolytus in the late 2nd century wrote another book called Against Heresies, and then Saint Irenaeus wrote another book called Against Heresies. Mm-hmm. So within those three texts, they're talking about these people as heretics. They're like, oh, these people, they had this weird gospel about Mary. Oh, they think Judas is good. That's crazy. So we know that we knew about this stuff. We just never found the actual gospels. So Carl Jung, being the scholar that he was already sort of interested in this side of Christianity. He was writing about it. So when the antiquities people found them, they were like, got to get it to Carl Jung. He's going to be the guy who's going to figure out what all this stuff means.
Yes. So now if we actually kind of quickly try to explain what Gnosticism is, the way I see it very simply, it's like it sort of recontextualizes Christianity as more of a, like what would you say, like a dualistic style faith, where like there's like a female aspect to like Christ-like divinity, like you would see in Eastern philosophies. You have like Christ, and then the female counterpart would be like Sophia, right? Is that the right one?
Sophia.
And then, and then one more thing I think is important of Gnosticism is like Yahweh turns out not to be the be-all, end-all, omega Lord. He's like part of a little pantheon of gods or something like that. It used to be, at least. Well, you have the archons and stuff like that, and we live in a lesser reality or something like that, right?
Yeah. So that's correct to an extent, because it turns out that the Gnostics, the so-called Gnostics, most of them didn't call themselves Gnostics. Most of them called themselves Christians. They just thought they were regular Christians. But when these heresiologists, the ones that I was telling you about, those three texts, when they're lumping all these heretics into one group, they call them all Gnostics, even though they might not all be Gnostics. Some of them are called Docetists, some of them are called Valentinians, some of them are called Sethians, some of them are called Carpocratians, some of them are called Nacenes. There's Marcosian. There's a whole bunch of them. There's like dozens of these sects of Christianity, and they're all lumped as heretics, but they get called Gnostics around the end of the 2nd century. They all get labeled Gnostic. But a part of these group, within that umbrella of all these heretics, you have people that do call themselves Gnostics. A couple of them do. They style themselves as like knowers. They know the truth. Like Gnostic, that's what that word means. Gnostic
like
just means knower.
Knowledge or something, right?
Yeah.
Seeking of knowledge.
Exactly. It means you. So this guy named Marcion was one of these heretics. He's actually the first person on record to have a New Testament. He took 7 letters of Paul the apostle, and he took the Gospel of Luke and Acts, the book of Acts, and he put them together, and that was the first New Testament that's in any of the sources. And in Luke, there's a passage in Luke where Jesus says to the Pharisees, he goes, "You scholars of the law, you took away the key of gnosis." That's what the Greek word says, gnosis. We translate it as knowledge. And that's why Marcion is considered to be a Gnostic, because he only cared about this particular group, this particular gospel. So there are some that call themselves Gnostics, but then there are other ones like the Valentinians who they call themselves Valentinians, obviously, but they were like emphasizing this Sophia aspect, this third aspect of the triad God, that was just as important as the Christ logos and God the Father, and they had this different triad. So Sophia is a big part of like most of these groups.
Yeah.
Not all of them care. There's some of them that were ditheist. There was one evil god called Yaldabaoth, and they said that's the Old Testament God.
All right, so the
God of the
Old Testament
Jews
God gets recontextualized.
Becomes
like
this evil imposter. They said this is what Marcion says. He says this God thinks he's in control of everything, but he's really like under some sort of spell, and he has no idea that he's actually like just a regular terrestrial daemon. Yeah. He's like a demon. He's like nothing.
So he's like under the delusion that he is actually the be all end all God, but he's just like a lower vibrational, hellish.
And the way they argue this is slick because they go look at Israel. They don't even have their temple anymore. How many times did Israel get sacked in the last 100 years? Like 15 times. Did they ever win a war? No. Where's Yahweh at? They're like that's not the supreme God. And it's like they got a point there. Israel never was. Yeah.
Yeah. So then okay. So what do you make of all of this? Like because look, it sort of reminds me too, and this might all be coming from the same spring well of all this archetypal stuff too. But if you look at like alchemy and shit like that, they start talking about the unification of opposites and like the female and masculine. Oh wait, we got another super chat. Sorry about this. Let's see what they have to say.
$5. Another question: isn't there a third god equivalent to Jupiter called Sabaoth, Yahweh's son?
A third equivalent to Jupiter called Sabaoth, Yahweh's the son.
Yeah.
Does that
Jupiter?
exist?
There's a god named Jupiter Sabazius. And it's this aspect of Jupiter because Jupiter to the Romans was the highest god. He's the supreme god. Jupiter Optimus Maximus. It means Jupiter the highest, the greatest.
Gotcha.
And there was another version of this god who they said was the Jewish Jupiter. They called him Jupiter Sabazius. And there's a source from 164 BC. I think that's what it was. Somewhere in the 2nd century BC.
Look at this guy.
This dude named Valerius Maximus talks about the Jews getting kicked out of Rome. He's like, those guys with their fickle, silly minds, they're trying to trick people with their illusions. He's like, we kicked them out of Rome, and they're worshiping Jupiter Sabazius.
All right.
So that's all he says. We don't know what the hell happened, but he's like, that's what he says. So like, yeah, Jupiter Sabazius was this god who's connected to both Dionysus and Yahweh.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna get back to my question real quick. Okay. So I'm just trying to wonder here. So as we're all truth seekers here, right? So if you can see the similarities between other religions, and you can see like in alchemy, you have the unification of opposites and stuff like that, then what would drive the church to not specifically get rid of those types of texts and to get rid of that feminine aspect? So I'm wondering why would that be made specifically to be heretical as opposed to anything else? Because you do see it in a lot of different other religions. Is that just a way for them to differentiate themselves? So like, I just don't understand what would drive them to specifically get rid of that.
I think it's clear what was going on around the end of the 3rd or middle of the 3rd century, something like that, where these heretics are getting pushed out because the major difference between all of these so-called Gnostics and the so-called Orthodoxy is this one major thing. The Orthodoxy believed in bishopic authority, which means the people who are ordained bishops are in control. And the so-called Gnostics said, no, F that. Anybody can get gnosis. Yeah. Anybody can receive a message from God. It doesn't matter if you're a slave, you're a woman, you're a this, you're that. They're very egalitarian in that aspect. But these sort of Orthodox types were like, it's easier to control a national church because it's becoming international at this point. Even before Constantine, the church was already starting to get its hands in all these different. It was already starting to become a very powerful state. What's going to be better to control with? Where you have bishops that are all in one thought and one mindset, when they're all controlling cities in their own in one way, or if you have like 20 different people with 20 different opinions all doing what they want.
Of course.
Which one makes more sense? Obviously the first one, you know?
Yes.
So that's what happened with Sophia and the Gnostics and all that fun stuff, all gone, because that's hard to control people like that.
Yeah.
That's what I think happened.
So they were, it was like a measure of control for them, and they kind of distilled away that aspect of it, which makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot more sense to me, the unification of opposites and stuff like that.
And another thing too. So we have scholars say that there's 7 letters of Paul that are authentic. Then there's like 5 more that are in the New Testament that they think are forged, or some might go maybe Paul's secretary wrote it, but they're not. It's not written by Paul, and you can tell by internal evidence, by the language that he's using, the word. Like you could tell it's not these 7 letters all you could tell one person wrote it, and then these 5 over here you could tell someone else wrote them. Well, it turns out that those 7 letters are the ones that Marcion had, that Gnostic guy. He happened to have those, and those authentic letters of Paul sort of was more emphasis on gnosis over bishops. And these other, so for example, the Timothy, 1st and 2nd Timothy, if you read that text, people don't think Paul wrote that, even though it says Paul wrote it. But that particular letter is all of a sudden it's a whole different angle where he's saying the bishops are in control. The power goes to the bishops. The bishop is the authority of God on earth. It's like Paul never said that before. All of a sudden now he's saying that. That makes you think that these Orthodox types forged letters in Paul's name because Paul was a big deal. Yeah, that's the extent that they would go to eradicate the Gnostics. They were forging letters in Paul's name and making Paul say things that he wouldn't say before.
So you have this church orthodoxy. They have this they want to control everyone, and they kind of get rid of this idea of like Christ consciousness, where you can attain that without going through this institution of the church. You could just sit at home and meditate, not jack off for a month, and you would become.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
There was a young kid named Epiphanes, and his father was this other Gnostic called Carpocrates from Alexandria, Egypt. And this kid wrote this amazing book called On Justice, and there's like translations of it online. But this kid he ended up dying at like 17 years old. He's very young. They deified him just like Christ, and they built a temple in his name. And they said that he attained godhood. That was part of the Gnostic vision. That was a part of the Gnostic tradition. And those same Carpocratians that his father's named Carpocrates, they're named after him, Carpocratians. This same group called the Carpocratians, they had this doctrine that not only did Jesus attain salvation or the highest form of gnosis, he became deified. You can too. And they would say Pythagoras was a god, Socrates was a god, Plato was a god. This other Epiphanes kid was a god. Jesus was a god. They're basically leaving it open for anybody to become a god.
Okay. That's very interesting. Yeah. Yes, I was thinking about this. So since Carl Jung, he finds these texts, right? And as I was talking to different Christians, they say that, yes, Christ gets embodied by these other prototypes across history, right? So you could then say, basically they're granting more of the Jungian side of the story by saying this, right? Because you can't deny there have been several different, like we discussed in the beginning, basically prototypes of Christ throughout history, mythos. They all have the same themes and archetypal stories coming along with them. And I remember one time, and this gets so weird when you get into like the seeping of the subconscious into the conscious and stuff like that. This gets super complex, this Jungian stuff, right? But I remember
Jung was into this stuff.
I remember one time Jordan Peterson, which he kind of fell off in recent years, obviously.
Yeah, he did.
But he started crying one time trying to explain this, and he said he was having trouble even explaining it himself, right? So this is how I understand this, and I don't know how far you go with this type of shit, but so if you have the mind, you have the conscious part of the mind and the subconscious of the mind. Now, the subconscious part of our mind can seep into our consciousness, right? Like through nightmares, dreams, hallucinations, whatever you will. The subconscious part of the mind can seep into the conscious part of the mind. Now, there's also, of course, in a day-to-day basis, parts of our conscious mind seep or get drained down into the unconscious part of the mind. Now, and I believe there's aspects in the Jungian philosophy where, in the same way that our psyche has this dual nature with the subconscious that we're not really aware of, and the consciousness, that reality itself has our physical reality, and then underneath there is this meta reality, right? This akashic record.
Collective unconscious, he called it.
The collective unconscious, as he called it. And I think when Jordan Peterson started trying to talk about Christ in this aspect, I think he was trying to say something like, Jesus Christ is the physical embodiment of a narrative or a myth, right? Or the truth, or whatever you want to say. So it would literally be as if there is this conscious part of our reality, the physical reality, and then from this subconscious world, this akashic record, a mythological figure gets pulled, something like that. You know what I'm saying? It could that be the way our reality actually works? Because that would be more in line with every other religion. You know what I'm saying? What do you think of that stuff? Like
I think whoever wrote the Gospels was trying to create a character that was like what you just said, because they're drawing from all of these famous archetypal forms. That's what Plato called them, forms. Jung calls them archetypes.
Yeah,
and like it's like the highest or ideal state of these forms, right? So like,
yes,
you have a god called Asclepius, and he's known for going around and like spitting in people's eyes and making them see again, and touching their arms, and their arms will grow. It's things that Jesus does in the Gospels.
Yeah,
and you have stories about Dionysus being the slain bull. He's the bull whose blood you get washed in the blood of the bull.
Yeah.
And just like Jesus is this slain lamb, and you're washing the blood of the lamb.
Yes.
You have all these aspects of Jesus that are he's sort of like one-upping all these other myths and saying this is the new, better version of that. Yeah. It's like when the new DC movie comes out, or like a new Batman movie comes out.
Yes.
And it tries to outdo the Batman that was before that.
Yeah, they're kind of absorbing all the aspects of the mythology that people like, that were effective, and then they embody a new, better meta for Batman, basically, right? It's like
it goes even as far. There's a book called by Dennis McDonald, a friend of mine. He's a scholar from Harvard, one of the smartest people I ever met. He wrote this book called The Dionysian Gospel, and he proves in this book, he demonstrates. He doesn't just theorize and think this. He shows you line by line how the Gospel of John is imitating Euripides' Bacchae, which is a play from 405 BCE about Dionysus. So it starts off, the Logos enters the world, just like in the Bacchae. Dionysus enters the world from the bosom of...
So sorry, but God is saying they're two sides of the same coin. Jung came to this conclusion with Christ and Antichrist.
Of the eon of Pisces.
That is true, but okay, please continue. Sorry, but you can't hear these things coming.
Yeah, that. By the way, just for whoever wrote that super chat, there's a book by Carl Jung called The Red Book.
Oh, I got a copy of it. I have like the big.
Yeah, it's a collection of Jung's mind, because he was writing like journal entries, and they just collected it all. The original one's called The Black Books. Then they got rid of all the boring shit and put the Red Book together, which is all the cool shit.
It rules.
And in that book, he does say like all reality is basically this like God and the devil just fighting for eternity, and nobody wins. Not one isn't better than the other. They're both equal.
Yeah,
they just freeze in time. That's gonna be the end of it.
You get into, and I highly recommend this too. Like in the old occultism, you have like the Kybalion. I'm sure you've heard of this, right? Wherein basically the concept of that good and evil aren't two separate binary things. They're like a vibrational field, right? So you'll have good, it's like this, and then you go to evil, and you can be within that gray area, right?
Like a yin and a yang.
It's like a yin, and it's exactly like yin and yang, but more illustrated as if it's a waveform that goes from good, which would be a lower or a higher vibrational field, to low, right? And then you can be on anywhere within that wavelength, within the gray area between good and evil, right? It's like, it's not a binary, and I think that's a really useful way to think about reality, because nothing is on a binary, and basically, so good and evil aren't like two opposite things; they're the same thing. It's two sides of a coin. And then
things have nuance. There's nothing's black and white.
Exactly. That's so important to think about that. I had another thing. Okay, first of all, it's interesting that you say like, so you have these Abrahamic myths, and they're absorbing everything that works into one thing to create like this season 7 of Jesus, basically. And it's kind of interesting too that both DC, Marvel, and the Abrahamic myths were all written by Jews, of course, which is an interesting, coincidence. Oh, we got another super chat. 1 second, sorry about that. Third question.
$5. Third question.
If Jews worship Saturn, how does this relate to the Noahide fake religion they're forcing?
Will they behead Christians like said in
The
Revelation?
Saturn
Will they
thing
behead the Christians?
is interesting because there's a few Roman writers in the 2nd and 1st century who are like saying that Yahweh is just like this other version of Saturn. And the reason why they picked Saturn is because Saturn was the god, or Kronos in the Greek is what Saturn's called. Kronos is the god that would accept human sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And there's a myth. This is crazy, right? There's a myth.
His own son?
What's that?
Isn't it? Doesn't he?
He eats his own children.
Yeah.
He's the consuming father, right? And so there's this old myth from a Bronze Age priest. His name is Sanko Nyaton.
Damn.
And this dude was from modern day Beirut. From Lebanon, from the Phoenicians. This is way back. And apparently he's passed down this myth where he says, or the person who translated his stuff, this guy named Philo, he lived in Byblos, which is right there in Beirut. And he writes that Sanko Nyaton says that Saturn, who you call, that this god El, because Yahweh is also called El.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you knew that. The god El in Hebrew means God. That's where you get Allah from.
Well, I
Allah.
know that from your videos. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So he says this god El, who you call Kronos and the Romans call Saturn, sacrifices his only begotten son. And then, as a ransom for the sins of humanity, he says. And then he circumcised himself and told the Phoenicians that from this day forward, you'll do this for every child on the 7th day. And you're like, wait a minute, that sounds like Genesis. Because Abraham, he's about to sacrifice his son, Isaac, and an angel stops him. But in this story, there's no angel that stops him. He does it. He kills this kid. His name is Yedud. He kills the son. But then Abraham, even though he doesn't kill Isaac, he still goes on and says, he's the guy in the Old Testament who starts circumcision. So it's clearly a parallel happening here between these older, and the Sanko Nyaton version is even older, according to most scholars.
So there's two, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I just think there's two explanations that would explain this plagiarism, right? And one of it is that they all pull from the same source and they kind of remold these mythologies and see what works narratively and stuff like that. Of course, in a bid for control and a lot of things. And then there's, of course, the whole astrotheological aspect where these people, these ancients, they were observing the cosmos and they sort of deified and anthropomorphized like planetary movements and interstellar shit, and in order to kind of like deify and storify, mythologize this stuff, they kind of wrote stories about it. So then when you have like Mithras and Dionysus slaughtering the bull or whatever, that could be like symbolical, allegorical for like the eons or whatever, like Mars is the bull and stuff, that type of shit, right? So were they all observing these things and they sort of came to the similar conclusions at different points in time? Or
I think the truth's somewhere in the middle, because they're all looking at the same night sky, no matter what part. You're seeing the same night sky everywhere you go. So they're going to see the same sphere, same planetary motion, same stars, and all that. So they're gonna, and you're right, because astrology is huge in mythology. Yeah. But another aspect too is, they are passing these stories down. The Babylonians are influencing the Assyrians are influencing the Hittites are influencing the Greeks, and so forth. And these stories are being passed down, and they're being updated and changed for whatever audience is being told to.
Yeah.
And then the philosophers come along and they update. Philosophy always influences theology. So like when Socrates and Pythagoras come along and they start like teaching their wisdom. All of a sudden, that wisdom gets injected into these stories. Yeah, and you have someone like Jesus telling all these parables. He's like, those parables that you find in the New Testament, a lot of that stuff you can find in the ancient Athenian Platonists and Pythagoreans.
Yeah, similar to how Islam
he's very much.
Islam is like an Abrahamified version of Hermeticism and stuff like that. Again, right? Like they just absorb things that work into their own pantheon and kind of take credit for it, sort of like that type of shit.
Yeah, and exactly like Islam has a lot of legends in the Quran. So, like there's this character in the Quran who shows up. His name's Dul Qarnayn, which means in Arabic two-horned hero or two-horned one. Okay. And in this story, he's sweeping through the east, coming from the west, and he defeats Gog and Magog, and then he prays to God, and the two mountains close up, and there's a border that keeps out Gog and Magog from the civilized world. And you're like, oh, that's a weird story. But then it turns out that story actually existed long before that in a Byzantine story from Alexander the Great. And Alexander the Great had two horns on the coins that were circulating in the Arabic world.
Okay.
So they're talking.
Yeah. Okay.
Alexander the Great's in the Quran, dude. He's in the Quran.
Oh, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. See, okay. So yes. It's just all right. So this makes me think of like, and I'm sure you've read about this a bunch too, probably like Madame Helena Blavatsky, right? She attempted to just travel the world, and then. What was it called? Theosophy is the thing.
Theosophany. Yeah.
Yeah, and she kind of
theosophy.
Yeah, and she looked at all these threads and these through lines in religious mythology, and she kind of distilled this into one narrative, I guess, or maybe that's not even what she did, but she at least looked at all the similarities between all these stories, right? And then maybe you can because here's the thing, like. If you would, I'm just wondering if you would strip off all the bullshit, do you actually end up with like a mono mythological story, right? And then what does that mean? That mono myth that all these details are pinned onto, right? Would that be something that's inherent? Because look, I write a comic book. I write stories, and then when you start to learn about story writing, you can see that there's a lot of. It's almost like, are we writing stories, or is that just it's survival guides on the way our brain functions? Our brain operates on stories, so we're basically we're projecting the way our brain operates onto these pages. You know what I'm saying? It's like this. It's like there's a duality there where we're bringing our own psychology and the way our mind works, and then we're projecting that onto these myths. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a back and forth between that. It seems. I'm just trying to find out. I'm trying to find like usefulness or some truth or proof of something real in all of this. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. This is the main hunt, I think, because it's like when you are producing. I'll give you an example. Euripides Bacchae, which is the one that I was just telling you about, that John's gospel is imitating. They're imitating Jesus doing the same things that Dionysus was doing in the Bacchae. Mm-hmm. That play. It was performed for the first time. It's not a book that someone wrote down. It was a play. Mm-hmm. And it was performed in a theater in Athens in 405 BCE. Mm-hmm. And during that time period, there was 30 tyrants that were in control of everything. It's called the time of the 30 tyrants. Mm-hmm. For some reason, that play influenced everybody in Athens to get together and rebel and create, and then they took the 30 tyrants, killed them all, and started democracy again, because they already had democracy before that. And so this play, because of Dionysus as this character who goes up against Pentheus, who's a tyrant in the story, mm-hmm. he's like the Pharisees. He's always trying to trick Dionysus. Dionysus is always outwitting him. Mm-hmm. Well, this play, for whatever reason, got into the minds and hearts of all the people, and they were so influenced by it that they went up and rebelled and took back their city of Athens. Yeah. Now, Socrates was famous for he didn't really say that gods were real.
I need to interrupt you
actually
for
got-
one
he actually-
second. Sorry, I need to interrupt you. You got
$5.
another super
Last
chat. One
question I'll say.
Last question. How much do you know about
Noahidism?
Noahidism?
Is it just
Is it
Christianity minus Christ or something deeper?
more?
The opposite of Gnosticism?
The Noahide laws is just these 7 laws that the Jews want for the rest of the world. That as long, like, you're not going to follow the 10 Commandments, fine. Just follow these 7 Noahide laws, and you're good.
All right.
And that's basically what that means.
It's more easily followable version, basically.
Yeah, it's like the Goyim light version.
yeah. Okay, but please keep going because I'm really interested
All
in
right.
this.
So Socrates was famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, Socrates was famous for. He never actually talked about the gods as being real. Mm-hmm. And he wound up getting killed for atheism and leading the youth astray. Socrates, I don't think, really was an atheist. Socrates would say, and this is obviously through Plato's sources, through Xenophon's sources that I'm getting this. Socrates would say that the inspiration of the poets is what is divine. Mm-hmm. So when a poet like Euripides, who writes the Bacchae, influences the people, and he can capture your heart and mind, that you can get up and do something in the world, that is what divinity is. So the gods in the stories are just like tools that you use.
Yeah, but you can still get embodied. They are almost there is something you can get embodied or possessed by these gods, which represent an idea.
That's what Socrates said. He called it possession.
Yeah, it's like
called it mania.
You can get possessed. These gods, they represent an ideology or an idea or an emotion or whatever, and you can get possessed by those ideas or gods, and they become like an operative thing that can actually move and animate people towards certain goals.
Exactly.
or yeah.
And how is that different than collective unconsciousness? It's the same. It's kind of the same thing. Jung's getting at the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's
and so.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so that's what Socrates called it. He called it divine possession or mania. It's when when you are under this divine possession of the muse. That's what he called it. The muse. Mm-hmm. The muse is your inspiration.
Yeah, I know.
It's not like a girl with a harp there.
No.
It's like you just possess, like, and this are artists and actors are all, that's why they're all into the muse so much, because they are to get into a role or to write a good script or to write a good whatever, you kind of have to get possessed by some sort of spirit.
And that's what Jung called the persona. You basically wear the mask. So if you are like, what would be like look, you're going on a first date, right? And you're nervous and you're scared. We get another super chat here. 1 second.
Not _funny_I
Porphyry.
_not
Porphyry was a loser, wrecked Platonism. Unfortunately, his influence will wreck Platonism and anything even mildly related.
Unfortunately, his influence will wreck Platonism.
I like Porphyry because he talked a lot of shit about Christianity. There's a book that you can get called Celsus, Porphyry, and Julian, Arguments Against Christianity. I have it back here somewhere. Mm-hmm. And Celsus destroys Christianity in the 2nd century, just completely knocks it out the park as far as arguing. He's like, basically, like, you think these 2 women who walked up to a tomb and didn't find a body, that means he resurrected? I don't believe that shit. Like, Celsus is funny as hell. Yeah. And he's like, you guys just want to be like the Jews, but you don't want to do all of the laws. You guys are kind of lame. That's Celsus. Porphyry makes similar arguments too. But I agree that Porphyry took Platonism to a whole different direction with like theurgy and all types of this magical stuff that he was doing. Interesting guy. He was a good historian too. But I think I know where the super chat's going. I think I know what he means by that.
Yeah. And then, okay, so what do you think of, okay, I'm thinking like what captures people's heart with Christianity still, right? So you have to, that needs to be, so if we're talking about these personas or archetypes that can take over people and entire nations, how do you explain the usefulness to, and I guess, look, a lot of people are no longer going to church, especially in Europe. And I do think it leaves a vacuum. And then, yes, what steps in? It's these other stories that are written by Hollywood, and people underestimate the power these stories have because there literally are like firmware updates. That's
the new mythology.
Yeah, and they literally create. Even if you think that you're above that and you can see through it, no, They're instilling thoughts and belief systems into you. And there's a channel called Black Pilled on Odyssey. I don't know. Have you heard of this guy, Devin Stack?
I think I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, he does like movie analysis and stuff like. Because people always go, "Oh my God, the '90s, they were so great. The '90s, we need to go back to the '90s. That's where everything was pretty cool still." But he goes and shows you all these examples of '90s media and how they were slowly playing the long game of instilling these new philosophies, new ways of thinking, like stuff like the first gay kiss, then the first black gay kiss, and then a couple of decades later, everybody's gay. You know what I'm saying? That type of stuff.
Oh, it is. We're all mimicists. We're creatures of mimesis. We copy things around us. That's how you nothing is original. Yeah. Everything is either you're copying something or you're copying a bunch of things into one thing.
Oh, I got another super
right?
chat. But you're right. I agree with that.
Funny underscore
Plotting is directed would be better for the future than profanity. Interesting point about the muse and possession.
Hail Odin, Lord of the Possessed.
Hail Odin, Lord of the Possessed.
Hell yeah, hail Odin. I agree with that part.
Hail Odin, yeah.
Plotinus is the guy who's credited with starting Neoplatonism, and he didn't call it that. He just called it Platonism. But scholars are looking back in sort of a arbitrary way and going, well, Plotinus sort of changed a few things here. His focus was on because they believed in like the immortality of the soul, and Plotinus was sort of getting into some other like I don't know. I haven't read Plotinus in a while, but he definitely changed Platonism, and that's why Neoplatonism is considered to be his thing. He's considered the founder of Neoplatonism.
All right. I wanted to add another thing to what you just said previously. Another thing that we do, we tend to move around, especially within societies now, through a consensus filter. So before we spout off our quote-unquote belief system, we look around us first. We see whether or not it's palpable. We see if it could be acceptable, if we're not going to get lynched for saying what we quote-unquote believe. And so that becomes another form of like mass hypnosis, because if everybody's watching the same television, and so this makes me think of this thing. So there's a lot of people who go like, yeah, things were better back then, and they will quote like Archie Bunker, from that show, the television sitcom. They go, yeah, you remember when television was based? And this just goes to illustrate how little people understand how they're being influenced. No, yeah, Archie Bunker would say the N-word. Oh yeah, hey, my neighbor's an N-word. But narratively, he was the butt of the joke. He was the retard. Everybody else within the context of the show was laughing at him. Just because he says the N-word doesn't make the story or the narrative based. You were taught by that show, that this conservative guy that believes in nationalism and all this stuff, that he's the retard. He's the idiot. So if you believe the things this character believes, you're dumb, right? And in a similar way, we could talk about like narrative firmware upgrades. So in the 90s, and even in the 80s and 70s, back when people started to have like televisions in their living room, they knew damn well who their target audience was, because the man was out at work all day long, and who was watching television like while doing the laundry or ironing the clothes, the woman would be watching television. So you would have all these television shows like Ricky Lake and Jerry Springer and all these, and Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah Winfrey, all these shows, they're literally just there to firmware upgrade the women at home, the housewives. Because it's just, we're going to have like some kind of a political topic up here. For instance, let's just say homosexuality. So you have like a gay guy there. He says, yeah, I'm being prosecuted against because I'm gay. And then Oprah will say, that is a bad thing. You should be accepted. And then they cut to a crowd shot of a bunch of similar women clapping. Yes. And that's like a super basic, simple propaganda method to like update people's belief systems. But that's how these things work, and it's very easy to do. Well, it's not.
And then people mimic that, and that's how. And then you feel, if you don't do that, you feel like you're left out. You're not normal.
Yeah,
like those are normal people. I got to do what the normal people are doing. But you know what though? I think what's missing is it's too one-sided right now. Mm-hmm. I think there definitely is a purpose for the sort of feminine, nurturing spirit. We have another
super chat. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You're good.
There is a theory by Penrose that human intelligence consciousness is based on the collapse of the wave function. Okay, that sounds Sounds interesting.
That's above my. I don't know. I never heard that before.
Okay, please continue what you were.
It sounds pretty smart though. Anyways, I think there is a place for that type of spirit to sort of be out there and influencing people, but there has to be the other side, the more hardcore, the more like hardened, masculine sort of energy.
I agree.
I think there should be a balance between the two. I think that's a healthy balance is what is needed for a good society.
Look, I would say this: even if you would imagine a super fascistic society that would go around now and murder all the feminine energy people, the gays, whatever you want to call that, right? The people that are more demasculated. Within a century, they would be back. You know what I'm saying? They'd be back because that's just how our brain works. You know that experiment where people with that were suffering from epilepsy, they separated the brain hemispheres because apparently that surgery helps with epilepsy, and then they took the opportunity to do like a questionnaire, like a scientific experiment where they asked one brain hemisphere a certain amount, the same questions to the left and the right hemisphere, and both hemispheres gave radically different answers. And it showed that
Isn't that crazy?
That's fucking nuts. So that's basically how the brain operates, and it's like it's a balancing act. And society should work in the same way. That's actually what my book Butch Killigan is about. Well, it's one of the themes of the book because Butch is basically he wakes up in like a feminized dystopian future where he's basically the only cis white male left, and everything's like gay and paused.
It sounds interesting. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds pretty interesting.
You should check it out. You'll love it probably. But yeah, it's fucking. That's what my book is about. It's about the demasculization of society. Basically, that's one of the aspects of the book. But yeah,
I feel like what was I gonna say? It's almost like we have two muses in us. There's one muse that's like saying one thing and one muse saying the opposite, and you're sort of like a healthy person has a balanced, you know, not too what is it called? You know, radical in one direction. You know, they're sort of, maybe you lean one side, and that's fine. You lean in this one side, you see the world in this way, but you also have a little bit of like little something pulling you in the little dirt.
Yeah,
like that's a healthy mind right there.
Yeah, look, yeah, and then societally, of course, we also have men and women who have different temperaments. That sort of balances each other out, and you can even see the environment. If there's like a big disaster, there's like an influx in like a female gestation, or maybe the other way around. I'm not sure. But like nature even itself, because how do you explain how there's almost like a 50-50 balance within men and women being born? There is like there's these.
I always thought about that. It's a weird thing. Like what?
There is. I looked into it. It's part of my book, but it's gonna be in later chapters. I need to refresh my memory on that one. But yes, there is like explanations for that, and it has to do with like environmental effects. You can see they did studies on this when there's been like a tsunami or something, a big natural disaster. It changes the birth rate's gender. It's fucking crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would happen if there was like a huge wave of like all females that were born for like 10 years and like 1%, like 10% is male?
It just doesn't seem to happen, really.
It just never does.
It's crazy. I bet there's like some kind of a mathematical equation that explains this too, but yeah.
Nature has a way of balancing itself out. It's really crazy.
I know. But yeah, so you see this, and I also think, look, Christianity teaches you to turn the other cheek and that good will always win. But that's not the case, you know what I'm saying? You can't, look, in a way it is, but that doesn't mean you need to be sitting idly by. Because, yeah, there could be a regime that tries to kill all men, and you kind of sort of see that happening right now, you know what I'm saying? Or all masculine figures. Now, nature will balance it out at some point. Like, nature has your back. But here's the thing. You are the conduit of truth. You have the capacity to tell the truth, even in a world of lies. And if there's enough of you there, you can bring that balance back. You know what I'm saying? You can, and that's like the Kabbalion again. So everybody just needs to speak the truth every day. You know what I'm saying? And don't get too radical necessarily. You just keep it chill. You know. But even if somebody's lying to your face and it's not your opinion is not the popular one, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be yelling it off the rooftops.
There's a lot of people who are that act or they feel and In their personal life, they lean in one direction towards their worldview, whatever it is. And then in public, they act a total different way because they don't want to look like they want to be a part of the cool crowd.
And what do they call that? Persona. You wear your public mask. Your public mask.
Yeah.
And what is in this case the public mask? That is the societal consensus mask, wherein you don't want to stick out like a sore thumb. You want to blend in because you don't want to be ostracized, right? And that's another.
Right.
So yeah, you are in that. When you do that, just know that when you go to work and you hide your power level, you are putting on a temporary persona. You're allowing a spirit to embody you. Basically, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're
crazy
allowing
to think about it.
somebody inside of you, which is gay. You're basically being gay on multiple levels. You know what I'm saying? But that, so if you look, because you can think about this all day long. But yeah, so my interest in this stuff is to find some utility, practical utility in it, you know? Because you can sit there and act all pious and read your Bible back to front every day. It's not necessarily going to get you anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when people,
it's like a drug, though. It is like a drug. It's like an opiate. It'll give you that warmth. It'll make you feel good.
Yeah, and I know.
But
I know
at some point, you need to. At some point, you need to be that. You can't just use that external force to always comfort yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I know people too who they found Christ, and they'll tell stuff like that. They'll say stuff to me like, "Oh no, I found Christ." And you just need to give your suffering to him. And it's all this vagary, you know what I'm saying? Like, what does that mean? I met Christ in my heart. What the fuck does that mean? I just don't understand what that means. There's a guy, where is he? Like, he's like in between realms. He's like T-posing in between realms listening to me. Like, I just don't understand how that works. And I need to give my suffering to him. Now, I understand all the utility in suffering. And I understand
it's a psychological thing, dude. It's a psychological thing.
Yeah. That's what it is. It is like it all comes down to psychology basically. And then that if you start looking into that, to me it's vastly more mythical and crazy and scary and weird than the metaphysics claimed by like these organized religions. You know what I'm saying? It can get much more crazy. And I'm not saying people need to go out and do shrooms and ayahuasca and stuff like that. Don't even do that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm not really necessarily advocating for any of that new age stuff either, you know?
Right.
You know?
Well, that's crazy because that's what a lot of these people who go to these churches and they start speaking in tongues and they feel the Holy Spirit, they're not lying. They're feeling something. But it's a psychological state that these groupthink does to you.
Yeah.
And then you think that there was actually like you actually met Jesus or he went into your body and touched you or something.
Yeah.
But like you can do this for any religion can pull this off.
Yeah,
any religion.
There's even been like charlatans, and they have done like experiments with this, like neuro-linguistic programming, and like with a mixture of hypnosis. They've been able to emulate this stuff while openly being like, "Listen, this is just a trick. I'm bullshitting these people," and they could make people fall, and they could do all these things. They could bring them under a spell, basically. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy stuff, dude. That's what Jung was getting into. Jung wrote a whole book. One of the last books he wrote was about dreams being prophetic, and he has like these chapters about people because he was a psychiatrist and he would talk to people. One of his patients was like, I keep having this dream that I'm gonna fall off a cliff, and I guess the person was like, I go hiking all the time, and there's cliffs there. Jung was like, be careful, you maybe don't go towards the cliffs. And it turned out this girl ended up dying and falling off a cliff.
Yeah, and there's the
so like he was like, Jung was like convinced that dreams are prophetic.
Yeah, well, there's a very famous one with Jung where he was seeing a patient, and the patient was very skeptical about his theories of the collective subconscious, and she was talking about how she was being visited by the golden scarab. You've heard this story before, I assume.
Yeah.
She would see a vision of a golden scarab or something following her. And all of a sudden, during their meeting, they heard like a tapping on the window, and Jung opened the window, and in comes flying a golden scarab, right? which was very rare for the Austrian climate to even have an animal like that there. And
that's in the same. That's in that same book called Man and Symbols. Man and Symbols.
Yes. So that's like. So that is what I was talking about earlier. Is like, so that would be like a manifestation of the collective subconscious, or like a narrative or a dream or whatever you want to call it. Like manifests. I'm not sure if it actually manifests, but through the flux of reality, it manifests itself into your timeline. Basically, this shit gets so fucking crazy, like this Jungian collective subconscious stuff. But yet there seems to be, and even like a guy like Jordan Peterson says this, where like stuff from the collective subconscious, or the Akashic record, or whatever you want to call it, because this is a motif that's in a lot of different religions, can manifest in reality. You know, and then you get into very weird stuff, and you don't have to get there through Christ necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just
that's just one of the vehicles that one of the more popular vehicles that people use to get there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
because Buddhists feel the same way about the Buddha.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a book called the Dhammapada. Have you ever heard of it?
No, I have not.
I think it's from like 400 BC or something. It's very old. It's the sayings of the Buddha. So it's basically like if you took all the sayings of Jesus, like the Sermon on the Mount, and put it all into one book, it'd be like that for the Buddha. And like basically all the things he's saying, you could take somebody and be like, who said this, Jesus or Buddha? And then they would probably be like, that's Jesus. And you'd be like, nope, Buddha. Yeah, like that's how like similar it is. It's basically like, believe in me and you shall live forever. Like very, very similar. Just hold on to me and I'll take care of you. That type of stuff. Yeah, yeah. And people like, that's why they grab their rosaries. Buddhists have some sort of bead thing too.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So people have such binary brains, and they're such team thinkers. What we're saying here doesn't delegitimize necessarily Christ or Buddha. It actually legitimizes it more. The fact that both of them said the same things means there's wisdom in the teachings. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to wear the Jesus Christ jersey and go into fights for that team or the other one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't know, because it seems to be also, I think in Jung also talked about this, like the eons, right? So it seems to be, so Christ is represented by the fish, and I forget what are these constellations called again when you talk about this stuff?
Yeah, he talked about this procession of the equinoxes. That was one of the themes of the ancient world that the Greeks talk about, where every 2,000, I think it's 2,100 years or 1,000, I don't know, it's something like every 2,000 years roughly, give or take some. That there's like some new figure that enters in the new astrological age. The next one coming up is Aquarius. The one before that was Pisces. Yeah. Before that was Taurus. Before that was Aries. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. So when the age of Taurus, the eon of Taurus was like there was lots of wars happening, and it was like represented by Mars, I think, which is like the war planet, all that stuff.
The war god, yeah.
The war god. Then Christ comes along, and it seems like the eon of Christ is done, and then we're now going to get into Aquarius. And there's some people who theorize that's like the AI god, which like the symbol of Aquarius, like a man holding like a vessel with like something in it, right? And people,
it's a guy holding or a woman holding a water container and pouring it out. That's the Aquarius. So you know what I thought about too?
Yeah. 2,000
years ago, the dying of thirst was something that people actually did worry about. Like water wasn't abundant. So like now we live in the day and age where everyone has a faucet and just could get water. Like it's kind of is in a weird way an age of Aquarius. We no longer have.
Who knows for how long? They might start taxing water. They might start taxing CO2, breathing, oxygen.
Probably.
in my book, in Butch Killigan, people have heart ticker subscription fees. So they all have like a heart pump device strapped to their backs, and they have to pay like a Netflix style monthly subscription fee to get like their heartbeats going.
Damn.
So things can get much worse, dude. But So we've been talking for an hour. What would be like sort of like a conclusion that we could get to here? Because you've been talking about this stuff for a long time. Obviously, there's a lot of utility in this mythology. Now you are sort of the school, even though you disagree with a lot of things. How do we get out of this team think, binary brain thinking, and like this apocalyptic cult that seems to be driving us towards a World War III, perhaps? What do you think? What do you think of that?
I don't know, man. I was talking to Survive the Drive recently. You know who that is?
I've heard of it, but not.
He's like a pagan Irish YouTuber, and I said people need to start bringing back local traditions and instead of just being under this Judeo-Christian paradigm where it's either Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. People need to start bringing back their own, and not necessarily in a dogmatic way where you have to believe in it, just in an artistic way where you're expressing yourself and your ancestors are being honored, that type of thing.
Yeah, here's the
because
problem.
I think when the world was like that back in the ancient world, that's a very vibrant, colorful, three-dimensional world to be in.
Yeah.
Right now, things are more like stale. There's no like hope anymore. Nobody cares about religion anymore because you're either a Judeo-Christian or you're nothing.
I understand that, right? So I come from a small Dutch traditional village in the southern part of the Netherlands. Right now I'm in Southeast Asia. Traditions here are very much alive, okay? So they'll stop traffic.
Yeah, Wotan over there, baby.
Yes. But so in the southern part of the Netherlands, here's what you see, though. From speaking from experience, so there's tons and a lot of little local traditions and stuff like that. But the problem is this: speak about like one Judeo trickery level on top of the next. These things can't really compete with the young generation. They can't really keep their attention there because they'd rather be playing Fortnite than to go plant the new May tree or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It seems extremely boring to them. And you can't really blame them really because they've been captured by this dopamine-inducing extreme form of entertainment. There's this new ritual, basically, that's happening. So I also think what's very important is that people that are not captured by the Abrahamic cult necessarily start to play within the entertainment field, get educated, get good, and actually compete with some of these stories that are going on and these properties that are going on. So I think indie gaming, really good for people to get into and start developing their own games that aren't paused. Yeah. Indie comics, like I'm doing, very important to get into that type of stuff, and so that there's like a counter narrative, right? And then we were talking about that too. We'd like things to be imbalanced. Now, of course, we're fighting a losing battle because if you do stuff like that, they'll ban you, they'll block you, they'll kick you, they'll do all that type of stuff. But it's still very important to do that stuff as well because we need to compete. The narratives need to compete with the predominant Abrahamic one. Let's just call it that. I don't want to get too based. Yeah, for sure. I agree. Couldn't agree more with that. All right, cool. Well, I think we've been talking for an hour. I think that's a good time for an interview. It's about an hour, right? Pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. Before we start reading.
Dude, Butch Killigan though, I can't. Now that you mentioned that it's like a guy waking up in the future and everything's just like completely non-binary world. Like that's interesting. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, you need to check it out. I did this little pitch before. He wakes up in this degenerated future. It's called Ultra City. The city's covered in a 24/7 ad-ridden dome. It's projecting stupid ads. Yeah, there's self-replicating retarded clone workers that get more retarded every time they replicate. And I also mentioned he always mentioned the Chinese. Oh no, wait, the human mosquito Chinese hybrids. They're also around. Like there's a lot of look. And by the way, I predicted this. Look, people were talking about this because the church. Let's talk about this before we go off. The church, the Vatican released a new mascot. Did you see this?
No, what's that?
You haven't seen this. Okay, let me show you this. So the Vatican released. The Vatican has unveiled the official mascot of the Holy Year 2025. Loose, Italian for light. Sort of reminds me of Lucifer, that guy, also popular.
Is that real?
Yes. Look at this. If you can look at the stream.
Lucifer. Holy shit.
Yeah, look, they made an anime. The Vatican unveils their new mascot. Jesus is passé. The dying Jewish guy on the cross is passé. This is going to be the Vatican's new mascot going forward. You didn't know about this?
Oh
This
my!
is real.
Look how hard they're trying to keep up with like the new the anime style thing that everyone's
I know.
into now.
So here we go. Look, if you look at the stream.
But here we go. This is what I mean, dude. This is what Christianity was doing in the first century. They were mimicking Dionysian, all types of Asclepian and Apollonian shit to Jesus. Now that they're doing, it's the same playbook in 2024.
Yeah.
This is how they stay alive for 2,000 years.
Yes, they have to adopt. The iconography needs to be, and whether it's degenerative, because you could agree, you could argue that this is kind of ridiculous, obviously. Now, look, I want to show you this. 1 second. Look at this, because I predicted this, because in Butch Killigan, if you look at the stream, you can see this. Because somebody pointed out, like, McDonald's a week ago dropped their new anime figures. So they're, instead of Ronald McDonald, that lame old clown, they're going to go with this type of thing. And then the Vatican dropped Loose, the new mascot. Now, I predicted this because in Butch Killigan, every facet of society is being represented by like a little cute Japanese-style mascot. So you have healthcare is being represented. So if you have a problem with your liver, you got to talk to a little cartoon bunny, okay? AI bunny. If you have Butch Killigan's chief of police is a little cartoon dog. Religion is being represented by this little... theosophical, all-encompassing little elephant. The big-nosed toucan is representing media, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice.
See where I'm going with that? See, I actually predicted that fucking thing happening.
Yeah, that is spot on, though, if you look at it.
Isn't that fucking
But you know what's crazy? So there's a letter from 604 AD from the Pope. Forgot which Pope it was. Holy shit.
Come on, flex on
but he
it.
writes a letter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he writes a letter to this bishop over in London, and he says, "Don't kill the pagans and don't destroy their temples. Here's what you got to do: go in their temple, take the idol out, replace it with a cross, sprinkle holy water inside it, make it a church, and then let them continue to do whatever the hell they were doing with their rituals, but just make it Christianized."
Exactly.
And there you can see it. It's the same playbook since the Gospels all the way into the 7th century, all the way to today. This is how Christianity survives.
Yeah.
They mold themselves to the time period.
It's absolutely fucking crazy if you start to see how that works. Because you see, now obviously people all know this. Like we had our old pagan rituals, the Christmas tree with the little reflective balls that we hung in it to get to scare off the witches and stuff like that. Now that's synonymous with Christmas, but of course has nothing to do with the birth of Christ, right? The tradition of the Christmas tree. There's so
I did a whole video on Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, guys, you need to go check out Gnostic Informant. Check out the channel. I'm gonna check this one out later. The heated discussion with the rabbi, because that guy. That's his physiognomy, his whole vibe always irritates me when I see that specific guy. And he has this lisp, like he's been like his tongue.
You know what we argued over? There's no evidence of Judaism before 300 BC. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I saw. That's what you were talking about
idea.
in the. You were talking about that on the
I have
DTR
a couple
stream.
videos on that topic, and I can prove it to you. There's zero evidence of Judaism before 300 BC.
Guys, you need to check this out. Fucking awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Gnostic Informant, for coming on. Great discussion. I'd love to have you on again. Really interesting stuff. I hope everybody in the chat loved our little discussion here. Yeah, it was a long time coming because we've been talking about doing this for a while. But yeah, I'm glad you finally came on, dude.
Yeah, man, we'll do it again soon for sure.
Hell yeah, let's do it, dude. Yeah, thank you so much for coming, brother. Peace out.
All right, have a good one.
See you later. There he goes. That was Gnostic Informant. What do you guys think? Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, you guys really need to check out this guy's streams. He's really good, dude. Well informed. He's nuts. This guy's nuts. In a good way. Let's see, what is everybody saying? 88, 07s in the chat. 07s, 07s, 07s. Let me read the chat. Where are you guys? Yeah, that guy rules, man. I really like that guy. Yeah, we need to do more interviews in general, huh, guys? Sven is the most based VTuber on YouTube. I'm not really a VTuber. I'm a real human being, as you can see. Christmas is the dethronement of Saturnalia. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that going on. Butch Killigan reminds me a bit of Anime Psychopath. I have not seen that one. Based epic stream. Check that out. Yeah, guys, everybody go sub to Gnostic Informant. Really awesome shit. He's really on point. You see how many books that guy reads? I can't even get through Dun 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 2. I'm still in the wrapper. I like Gnostic Informant. He's a cool dude, says TK. Yeah, he is. Least racist stream so far. Well, that's debatable. There's a lot of people who would still call this racist. You know that, right? You're talking about certain tribes coming up with narratives. Embrace the future, Sven. Yeah, I do. I look at the future quite optimistically, actually. It's fun to have a battle to fight, right? That's kind of fun. Imagine everything was in perfect equal balance. What would I be doing? Just sitting there, giggling, tickling my belly. Bushidoki says, didn't they trick the Vikings to say Jesus was a cool warrior? Yeah, there's a lot of things happening with that too, where they subverted Christ. Like Odin, Wotan was the European war god, and then with the changing of the eons, they slowly changed this mythological figure into a more nice guy. You know what I'm saying? So
Bob D tipped $10.07.
07s. So yeah, and if you're thinking about like a firmware update or like these little... So Odin, Wotan, is a spirit that can possess a person or a people and a society. And if you see certain people that are threatened by that, so they covertly change the ideology of the guy, you know, in the same way they're making Batman gay now, you know what I'm saying, or Superman gay, right? That's a different guy. Batman or Superman used to be truth, justice, and the American way. Fast forward 50 years, he's like, I love my boyfriend, right? That's a guy with a certain different ideology. Now, if you pump that Superman into, now kids that are wearing the cape, they're embodying that sort of, I know it's not really there yet, but that's kind of like, that's how that works. So yeah, you got Odin, you got Jesus. Odin is a war god with 2 fucking wolves, 2 ravens, and an eye patch, who doesn't take no shit. And then you have Jesus, who's like this nice guy. Oh my God, yeah, just do it. I'll die for all of you guys. You know what I'm saying? Sven doesn't like super chats. Confirmed. Did I get one that I didn't read? I like super chats. It works better when we're just shooting the shit on a regular stream. When you're trying to have a conversation with somebody, it's really awkward. It's because he couldn't hear the super chats coming in, so he's trying to. And I gotta go, shut up, shut up, shut up. Imagine in any other context, you're having a conversation with somebody, you go, shh, 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 shh. All right, keep going. Like, that's just ridiculous. Sven hates money. Wait, what's happening? Is the super chats turned off again or something? Did they block that again? Did they block super chats again? All right, Winston says, we'll start a motorcycle club on Monday. That's fucking cool. Didn't I hear YouTube banned you from receiving super chats? Yeah, that was last stream. I was kind of hoping that was fixed. Well, you can still send the TTS super chats. Oh, you see, yeah, the super chats have been blocked. That sucks. Well, again, there's a link in this video description where you can click on it. Streamelements.com. If somebody can post a link here, this. And you can send me a TTS. Oh, it's fixed. Some people are saying it's fixed. You can send super chats with this thing here. Streamelements.com/SvenStreams/tip. You can send. Look at this top weekly tippers. Shaba! What a guy. League McLegends, Anonymous, Alexis. League again. Look, League is both on 2 and 5. Shout outs, dude. Number 6 is not funny. I'm not funny. 7 is Lexi. Reaching 8 is on number 8. 9 is Zach. Crisis actor on 10. Shout outs to all the top donors. Look, we're getting some fucking super chats right now. What are people talking about? I was starting to get worried here. Shakes M says, great stream, 10 buckaroonies. Thank you so much. Mike Hunt says, dance. Do you want me to do a little dance? I'm not doing any of that. Yeah, Bob Daniel says, TTS is better. They only take like 5% versus YouTube's 50%. I don't think Stream Elements takes that big of a cut. I think YouTube takes a much bigger cut. That's true. Anyways, I'm going to take a quick piss. And then I'll come back for some after show stuff. It's not going to be too long. Today was just to have this conversation with Gnostic Informant. Love that guy. I thought we had a pretty good conversation. I thought we got to the nitty gritty of things. You know what I'm saying? Because you can talk about the weeds of all this mythology and it gets so complex. And of course, it's still extremely complex. But I think the interesting part is the underlying level of how all of this is like psychological, basically. It's like manifestations of our own psychologies. Like we, as above, so below. Sorry to say. We didn't even mention that phrase yet. Oh, what the fripp? Okay, I'll be right back, guys. We're going to take a quick piss of ringaroony, all right? I'll be right back. See you later. I only wear black. Hell yeah. Right, guys, we're back on track. Everybody still here? What's up, guys? Sven on Red Scare. Make it happen, TK. Yeah, look at that. Everybody knows that TK is like my producer at this point. He gets me in all these shows. What were people saying before? That Ethan Van Sciver stopped streaming? What does that mean? Oh, we got a Super Chingus.
Anonymous tipped $5. Hey Sven. Great interview. But please remember to mute super chats in the future. 07.
Yeah. You know what? We live, we learn. I didn't think of that. I don't do too many interviews. I want to do more. So if you know any guys that you'd like to see interviewed on Sven, an interview is such a stupid thing. It's just a conversation, right? I wasn't really interviewing. But now we got the gist of it. Can you believe that guy went to prison? What a fucking badass motherfucker. Also, when he said he's like, what did he say? He's 35? I'm like fucking 3 years older than that guy? I'm so old. Okay, get the Great Rebellion game dev on. Who's that? Look, here's the thing. Here's something that you guys need to understand, and you guys need to do this a lot more. Like, TK's got the right idea. First of all, Twitter is where you need to be at. A lot of you guys aren't even on Twitter. A lot of guys are still, like, on Facebook and gay, queer, boomer, shit like that. You got to be on Twitter. If you want to see a guy come on this stream, TK goes, yo, you need to be on SVENSTREAMS. That guy, that would be really cool. And then another one of you guys goes, yo, yes, SVENSTREAMS, you should be on there. That's cool. And then the third one, boom, they're going to be on the stream. That's how it works. That's how easy it works. 3 guys need to tweet at somebody, or girls need to tweet at somebody and go, hey, you should be on SVENSTREAMS, or have Sven on your stream. That's probably better for me to be on their stream first, because people get scared. I think I'm going to just yell the N-word at them like YOLO Swag. But I was scared. YOLO Swag called me the other day. He was like, he's warming up again to maybe appearing one more time, or again on our show. But you guys need to be way more nice next time. Because you guys were being really mean to that guy. Ecosystem says, used to do this with other shows, but it is harder for Sven. Why? I'm such a nice guy, easy to talk to. We've had nothing but great appearances. There's not been one bad appearance we've had this past month. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, isn't this crazy? But yeah, look, Dick Mass and bro, you nailed it. See? People are starting to see my prophetic abilities. I was on Dick Masterson last week. That went really well. I'm going to be on Killstream again on the 5th for the election special. Milo Yiannopoulos is going to be there. And then on Monday, I'm going to do another Comics Gate stream. EVS, I only have one more week to appear on there, because what's the point after the campaign is done, you know? He needs to keep his promise. Ecosystem says people are afraid. What are they so afraid of? That I'm going to point out the skeletons in their closet? Like Vito? Yeah, did you guys see that? Vito and Dick dressed. The fact that he was... Monday is KT, yes. Is there any more comic streams? Because next week is going to be a big one. I need everybody's help next week. Because the last week is the last surge. That's where, so you have the beginning of the campaign, it goes like this, then it goes stale, and then it goes like this again. So next week is a very important last stretch of the campaign. And then I'm going to go on a little week vacation. Or well, actually, it's only 2 days. 2 days, I'm going to go on a little vacation, because this has been nuts. This week has been... I've been streaming so much, so many appearances. And I'm thinking I might go visit the Netherlands for Christmas, too. Maybe for 2 weeks. Which, that's something to look forward to, but the flight itself, it's going to be atrocious. It's going to be another one of those... You just got to dedicate yourself to like 24 hours of straight traveling, you know what I'm saying? People go, oh, the flight is only 10 hours. Well, and actually this flight is like 23 hours. What is his Twitter? Who's Twitter? Chris Goss goes, I don't know many guys. Who do you even tweet at? Look, Ryan Katsu. Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, we need... Ryan Katsu should come on this stream, though. That's not really a Butch Killigan promo-ish, but he should come on this stream. That would be funny. Or fun. Shaba says, I think the Great Rebellion interview would target a similar audience to BK. I'm not familiar with that, but yes, of course. Sven should get Bill Gates on the stream, okay? Or is B Gates some guy? Yeah, look, TK just tweeted, zeeted at Ethan Van Sciver. Join in, guys. Go check it out. Let's see. Look, here. I would like everybody join in right now. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. Let's get Sven on Ethan Van Sciver's stream. Right now, go here. Ethan Van Sciver, at Ethan Van Sciver, and go, yeah, dude, when's Sven going to be on? You said he was going to be on. The campaign is only a week. The campaign is going to be done in a few days. Be sure to mention that because he might think, who knows what this guy might think. Because he has his campaigns up forever. Link it up. You guys are so lazy. Here, this is the link. Go to that tweet and tweet at him. Yo, you gotta have Sven on. His campaign's almost done. You were gonna have him on, weren't you? Yeah, it's called X. Come on, guys, let's do it. We're not gonna move on with the stream until I see at least 5 tweets at him. Let's do this. He just needs to. And he talked about me on a previous stream. Again, he talked. Where don't I have any of these links up? Flip. Let's see if I can just find this real quick. Oh, that's Katie. He's on Katie's stream. Or maybe he'll be on there on Monday then. Maybe that's what's happening. Hey, Vault Trashcast. Skibbity, gibbity, gibbity, doilet. Skip, skibbity, toilet. I love skibbity toilet type of stuff. I think this was it, I think. Let's see.
I don't have to watch kids' movies anymore, so the Ruth Saunders. This campaign as big as I wanted to. I explained to you guys about campaigns and something called rocket fuel. You have to look and anticipate how many backers that you're going to have. You can do that.
Big I just look. I don't understand why.
That's fucking gross, man.
What is going on? I thought we were making comic books. Now we're making whatever.
Yeah,
this is.
Vito, talk to me.
Thank you very much.
What the heck and flip?
We're gonna bring the edge back to comic books. My white friend wants to tell you about this little black girl he thinks about all the time.
Okay, sure. Tell me about that.
Oh, it's fun.
Hashtag
really awesome. All right, hold on. There's a new one.
Here, he doesn't really watch one of our clips.
Animation. Did I watch this? How come it's watched?
Oh, my fucking jaw is on.
All right, we got some stuff to look at here.
She's used to people giving a shit, too.
Now, here's the thing. Like, listen, I'm at the point, and I've been at the point, and we've all been at the point.
All right, this is Sven Stoffels, who is the creator of Great. But look, I'm going to show you guys how benevolent I am. I like Sven's book so much, Butch Killigan. Even though it's being published by Iconic Comics, I'm still going to promote it because it's good. I like Sven. I just think he's good people. He's really smart. He's really funny. So I'm on his side. And I just said, it should be published by Iconic, dude. I hate those guys. But I'm still.
No, look, I don't know why he has a problem with Iconic Comics. Iconic Comics are great people, and I don't think that should be... Look, again, people are so binary. Again, and I will keep saying this forever. Binary-brained, okay? So, first of all, they think if I appear on somebody's stream that I then co-sign their every belief. That's retarded, you know what I'm saying? You can appear on somebody's stream and completely disagree even. Or you can appear on a stream with somebody that you don't agree with fully and just have a conversation. Like, what the fuck? What happened that we think this is some kind of... And I think it's that all that drama farming and stuff and all these little cliques that form and all these gangs, basically. What's the beef? I have no clue what the beef is. I just don't even fucking care about any of that stuff, right? And then, but for him to be, like, hesitant to have me on, the greatest up-and-coming new voice in indie comics, you know, because he disagrees with my publisher, the people who print my books. That seems to be ridiculous to me, you know what I'm saying? And by the way, Iconic Comics are fucking awesome. I love all those guys. They're mega based. They're free speech absolutists. That's why they have me on. Or, well, that's one of the things that makes it comfortable for them to have a guy like me on, you know what I'm saying? They flew me out to Texas, all expenses paid. Just great fucking guys, so... And I will never throw them under the bus because I've heard people do this too, like that George Skabalovopoulos, or whatever the fucking guy that is, the guy that was working with like Razor Fist, that epic metal guy. You know, like they'll appear on a guy's stream, and then that guy goes, I have beef with that guy, and they'll just throw everybody under the bus. Oh, they don't have any conviction. Now I'm able to have a great relationship with Iconic Comics. Those are my niggas, my boys. And still appear on Ethan Van Sciver and be friends with him. Like, I don't need to be sucked into any of this fucking nonsense. Look, Mike Hunt says, I love Sven, but I don't agree with most of what he says. Yeah. Mike Hunt famously only agrees with about like 5% of the things I say. So, no, but look, these guys are beefing with all of it. Look, there is an aspect, if we're all honest about this, the drama and the drama farming, the battles, because there isn't, if you're an artist nowadays, you need to have an online presence. You can't be in your little bubble and all that shit, right? Now, I happen to love doing it. I like to talk shit online, obviously. If that's the only thing you're doing, though, you know, and by the way, we don't even drama farm, right? I might have a beef with a guy like that Fresher Luke guy we were talking about last week, or last stream, or the stream before that. That guy was just shitting on me. I'll gladly beef with a guy like that. Fuck him. You know, he started it, right? But if your show is like, okay, what is the next beef that I get to start? Because I need to engage an audience. I need to come back to see the next chapter of this battle that we're having. I don't think that's very productive. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be all you do. Again, you know, we're speaking. Remember? The waveform. Good or bad, right? And the gray area. Look, and yeah, guys, look, RT says, all this beef is making my anxiety spike again. See what you guys are doing with all this beef? You're making poor RT's anxiety spike. Yeah, Liz says that's not what having Beavis, that's sticking up for yourself. Yeah. But then some people would argue, you're creating drama with Eric July. Look, the only people that say that is they don't know me or my stream. We have analyzed art and shit like that since the beginning. That's like a huge part of this show. And look, and when I say we've also just been bullies, we go on live streams and go, look, this is gay. Look, that's part of like bringing balance to the online sphere. We're a very small minority of based people here. All of Twitch is gay, you know. Oh, okay, thank you so much, Alexis.
$10.
Alexis. That's a beautiful symbol. You see that everywhere here on Bali. It's the Sanskrit symbol for Buddhism and stuff like that. Thank you so much for reminding me of Buddhism. Yeah. So yeah. So if people are I'm appearing on a bunch of streams. People are talking about Eric July, and they say his comic sucks. I know that when I'm going to appear on these streams, I should know about it. I didn't know about any of this, and I still don't know any of all the fucking comics gate ins and outs and all the beefs and the battles. I barely know any of the big names or the players. I'm just doing my thing. But, of course, I'm going to have to appear on some of these shows. They're going to be talking about it. It's the hot topic, so I better form an opinion on it. So I look into Eric July's ISOM comic, and what am I going to do? Be diplomatic? No, that's not what I am at all. So I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say, listen, this comic fucking sucks. It looks shit. And then I start thinking, why could this be? How could a shit comic like this be so successful? I have my theories. I guess might as well play
I assume he's going to get most of the money. I will still bring him on.
First of all, let's see. How's our propaganda campaign going? Come on, Sven cells. Let's see what we got going here. What do we have cooking? Look, do we need to do... Look, Liz, this is too abstract. And you say, yeah, have Sven on. It's taking too long. You know what I'm saying? Oh, here we go. The Butch Killigan campaign is almost over. Get Sven Stoffels on your stream. Hey, Ethan, join forces with Butch Killigan. Have Sven Stoffels on your show. Yo, Ethan, I heard you were... Look at these fucking guys. The sweet friend, Rob, Alexander. Look at these niggas. This is the propaganda arm. Chris is here. On your stream, there's only a week left for this campaign. It would be cool to see him on your stream before this campaign. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah, let's keep this up. Let's see if Ethan Van Sciver tweets again in the next hour. Okay, yeah, this is the one to tweet at him at right now. Let's see if he can't fucking ignore this. He's promised me in the DMs, but in this video that he uploaded like 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago. He's like, yeah, I'll have him on. What's going on, guys? Can I get on there? What the fuck? What is it? What's the problem? You know what I'm saying?
On the show and promote his book.
Look, he says, I'm going to have him on the show and promote his book. Look,
like
he literally did say that, right?
I'm on the show. But I assume he's going to get most of the money. I will still bring him on the show and promote his book.
Yeah, I'll get most of them.
I got to work out when, but I like him.
You don't give a shit about any of this
No, I don't
fucking
care.
crap.
No,
Like when
I
by the way,
don't even know what you wrote this.
remember last week I pointed out how Eric July is a product of like tokenism, and then you have a different subsect of like conservatards getting super pissed off at me. Remember that, Liz? Heckin' frickin' pissed.
We saw it on Twitter. We had like 5 angry guys. Not even 5. I think it was more like 2. They felt like 5.
And by the way, they were getting paid too by Eric July. They're getting paid. They informed me that guy was on the payroll. So Eric July, whenever somebody's critical or has some sort of feedback on the guy's art. By the way, here's the thing: I encourage anyone, friend or enemy, to review my comic. I would hope you can do it honestly, right? And just go over it with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah, of course.
And just give all the feedback you need, right? Now, when I do that with his comic, and I analyze that in a cultural context, which is something you're supposed to do with a piece of art, and I think I accurately did it because I ignited a bunch of vitriol.
They jumped down your throat.
Yeah, because what I said basically is we're posting Rebellion right now. TK, who is like the head of my propaganda arm, he's my my Goebbels, basically. TK is my gobbles. Rebellion. Oh, that's not working, Liz. That link's not. It doesn't seem to be working. Oh, wait, did I copy your username? Oopsie. Whoopsie doopsie. Yeah, Rebellion! I'll follow him. Let's get on Rebellion. Tweet at him. Tweet at Rebellion. Get Sven on. Oh, yes, he's talking about stone toss and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. Oh, it's that guy. Okay, yeah. Get me on Rebellion, guys. Let's get at least 5 tweets shot at Rebellion. At Great Rebellion. Right? Can we get that one going? RT says, oh, we got a super chat.
I love Liz tipped $5. All religions have knowledge and wisdom to them. But subscribing to one religion and going with a group is where people are wrong. This is why there are so many atheists these days. Because they look at a religion shaking their head at all the bull.
Yeah. And I think in a way what a guy like Nick Fuentes is doing, why he probably knows the score, he knows what's up. But he's doing something similar. He is using the Christian narrative, and he understands he doesn't want to purely appeal to white people because he understands that's not palatable anymore. We've moved too far beyond that to get any sort of true political traction. So he uses the Christian narrative because a lot of people are Christian. That's close enough to what he thinks could be a good basis for an ethno-state. So he uses that and he infuses it with Groyperism and America First and nationalism and all this stuff, right? So it's like hopping on operating systems, Windows 11, Windows XP, Linux. Everybody's operating on similar but different operating systems, and it's just updating it with the newest meme, the newest story, the newest narrative, the newest belief system. So it's a tactical way. I would think so, because he's an intelligent guy. And of course he would deny that vehemently because it would undermine his entire movement. But that's sort of how this stuff works. Pone Dong says, in my opinion, religion has died because it doesn't provide a benefit to be friends and punish enemies. I don't think religion has died. I don't think it ever will. Part of the human condition, part of the human psyche. The comic book is not good. Most people seem to agree with that. And then the only reason or the only way you could justify it, again, religions and the human psyche are intimately connected, and it's a back and forth. They get updated, and then your brain gets updated in return. Your belief systems get updated. And it works similarly to how now we have modern media, television, videos, the internet, music. It's all there, It's not just entertainment. That's why it's so pathetic when you have like these guys. It's just boring. It's not just boring. It's much deeper than that. When they get rid of the gender options in a video game, it's not just boring. It's not just the HR department that made a decision. This is a calculated top-down effort by people that hold a certain ideology that want to see the world go in a certain direction that are doing this specifically. You know what I'm saying? Success is through the lens of white guilt and these comic book nerds being excited about the fact that there's a cool black guy in their sphere that kind of gets rid of the scarlet R of racism or racist that's being put onto them, right? So how could I be racist? I support a black guy. And then these guys go like, no, I'm not a cuck. I was a fan long before. And here's another example. The word racism, right? A racist. The media has imbued that moniker with a lot of negative energy, right? And then when you do anything, when you criticize black crime, or you're proud of your own culture, they'll put that on you to silence you. And now if you think that's just a minor thing or minor phenomenon, it actually works. And it works on such a deep level to the point where certain narrative, the truth can't rise above this. There's a glass ceiling. An entire generation is so afraid of being called racist that they go, no, they're actually the left is actually the racist. Instead of going, shut the fuck up. There's this bullshit crashing through that ceiling and shut the fuck. Because it's just, it does have real world effects, you know, and it does have power. And it doesn't just have power in the real world. It has power in people's brains. People are really afraid to be called racist, but it's not even, has nothing even to do really with racism anymore, right? Because what is it, the word racist that used to mean that a certain race feels supremacy over another race. You know, and then people go, no, I'm a race realist. Even that is like feeding into this narrative. You're playing on their field within their rule system, within the markers that they drew down. You know what I'm saying? You should you should brush that off. Shut the fuck up. I'm a racist. Yeah, sure. Fuck you. Die. Go back to Africa. That's the way you should, and then you should speak the actual truth. You should not allow that word to have any power over you. And it's difficult, especially if you work at certain places. You're going to have to fight an uphill battle, you know what I'm saying? But you shouldn't be wearing the personas or the masks that placate to the predominant narrative. For him when he had his YouTube channel and I liked his political takes. Now, what are those political takes? Eric July's political takes were, you have a black guy who goes, I'm actually against blackwashing. I think it's ridiculous that all white characters being made black. Right? Yeah, so you see the course of history can change. The flux of time can change. So you have a bunch of white guys that are not even aware of the fact that they're being influenced by media or religion or whatever narratives you want to say, or memes. They're enjoying their subculture, whether it's D&D or comic books or video games. Now, all of a sudden, a top-down corporate branch with a certain different globalist ideology decides that, you know what? It's about time we start influencing these properties and updating the firmware. Because this is promoting, the Lord of the Rings is promoting nationalism and it's promoting it's racism because it's distinct races, even though they're working together or whatever the fuck. So we need to update this with our new globalist racial BIPOC homogeny gay queer bullshit. People need to start believing in this. So they start to trickle into these spheres, okay? So now this needs to be updated. This needs to be updated. This needs to be updated. Now, instead of these spheres, the indie comics, and being resistant and go, shut the fuck up, fuck off. The monikers, no, you're racist if you tell us to fuck off. Ugh. They actually work. That works. It actually works. I don't want to be a racist. I don't want that on me. Get it off of me. Get it off of me. Oh, look. No. Look, we're not racist. We have a black guy. Look, there's a black guy here. Look, I'm giving him money. Look at a successful black guy that's part of our group. Look, I don't mind if every character becomes a black people, as long as you don't make the existing white guys black, right? That stuff they'll start to say, which is not the truth. No, I don't want to play a video game as a black guy. I don't give a fuck about a black person's plight. I don't give a shit about slavery. I have nothing to do with slavery. Who fucking brought the slaves in here? Who owned the ships, okay? I have nothing to do with that. I don't want to play as a black guy, even if it's an original character, okay? I don't give a fuck about the struggle. It's not a story or a narrative I'm at all interested in. Can it exist? Sure. And then 13% of the population can buy that shit and they can enjoy it. I don't give a fuck. I don't get pleasure of the escapist fantasy of Django Unchained killing all the slavers, even though the cinematography is good, right? I don't want that. I'm not interested in that. So, yeah, I would love good stories with black people because I'm not racist. Oh, no, please don't call me that. As long as you don't make Batman black or James Bond, they're all going to be black. Nobody gives a fuck. The fact that you're defending yourself, trying to wiggle your way out of this weight of that term, and you're trying to find escape routes. You're trying to know, look, I'm supporting the black guy. He agrees with me ideologically, sort of. That's not the way out of any of this. Yeah, there is a certain amount of extremism that needs to be incorporated if you want to swing, if you want to pull that pendulum back into a balance. You know what I'm saying? What they loved about him. That's tokenism. You're loving about the guy, again, in that context, is as well the fact that he's creating this barrier. And again, look, we have two extremes with the gray area here, right? So people will call me racist. I'm not racist. I don't have hatred in me. I don't have irrational hatred. But there's certain problems with immigration itself, and then not even to speak of mass immigration. And we're at a point here in the West, and America especially, where we've gone so far. You have affirmative action, and blacks they're not discriminated against. They're being put on a pedestal. They're like special citizens. They're being celebrated in movies, TV, culture, everywhere. They're overrepresented in a positive way. While that doesn't react to reality at all. Now, I understand where it comes from, but I'm not going to fucking suck a black cock because everybody tells me to.
$5. I love being forced to like stereotypes.
All right. I mean, I don't think to like stereotypes, but I'm not sure what you mean. I think stereotypes are being demonized, even though they have truth to them. Look, people call me racist because I'm not like cheerleading black people on the sidelines. Yeah, black people, black, black. I don't give a fuck that they don't have this special place in my heart. They're just like anybody else. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about it. I don't give a fuck about their plight. I don't need to see them succeed to feel better about myself and feel less guilty. That does have zero part in any of me. I don't give a fuck. You know? No, that's racist. People will call that racist. That's about the extent of my racism. Where I'm indifferent. And by the way, I've always been this way. I never listened to rap. I didn't even listen to Eminem, even when it was super cool in my school, when like Eminem's hidden mixtape was going around. I was like, no, thank you. Yeah, and people made fun of me, like, what the fuck? You don't want to listen to this? I'm like, no, it fucking sucks. I'm not into this. It's very Gen X of you to be indifferent. Well, I'm clearly not indifferent in that way. I'm clearly trying to do something about this entire situation, you know what I'm saying? but I'm indifferent to whether or not black people succeed. I don't think that's very Gen X. I think Gen Xers they've inherited the programming from the previous generation, wherein we are stuck with this melting pot situation. Now, there's two outcomes. Either it's a huge failure or it's a big success. Now, the big success one is very unlikely. Now, a big part of the boomer psyche is, if this melting pot idea turns out to not work, there is a lot of guilt associated with that because they decided to invest in that idea. Rather than investing in their own children's future, they invested in that idea. So if it turns out not to work out, there's a lot of guilt there. That's a big mistake to have made. So there's a lot of efforts being put in the firmware, in the culture that's being generated by boomers, to not have to atone for their own sins. They need to keep their own personal greed going because they cannot face themselves in the mirrors if this melting pot idea turns out to not be correct. Now, it turns out not to be correct, but they're pretending to. And that's where tokenism comes from. It's wishful thinking. You know what I'm saying? They want to believe we're all the same. But we're not the same. And that's fine. Should be okay. Should be fine for you.
Sven, the first time I ever heard of Eric July was from his original YouTube. He was like,
I gotta agree. When you say this, people get really upset.
There's a lot of people that keep telling me that my comments get through. There were people in my comment section on YouTube on the Adam Green interview. Sven's deleting our comments. He doesn't want to see our truth be told. I'm literally sleeping. I wake up. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? I'm not deleting any comments, niggas. You understand me? They're taking away my monetization or YouTube. It's this nebulous thing. What do you fuck? I'm not deleting any comments. I'm not saying RT is saying I am. But this is just another example. People are sending messages. They're not coming through. I don't know what to fucking tell you, okay? I don't give a shit if you want to call Adam Green a Jew on my channel, if that's what your opinion is. You think I'm going to run cover or something? No, I don't think he is, obviously, but speak your truth, sister. I don't give a shit.
But I mean, that is a big reason for Eric July is stupid. Like his takes are stupid. The things that he has to say are stupid.
Super chingas.
Chris tipped $10. Tower Builder Benjamin, if you're still watching this stream, I like you. Let's build. Come back to the Discord. Let's talk Elon Musk and the gentleman.
Yeah, what
Kids
happened?
Stab, girls shoot, boys punch.
What happened with
Grown-ups
Benjamin?
fight with their heads. That's where the real battle is.
Yeah, that is where the real battle is, Benjamin. Right up here in the dome top. Like, what the fuck is happening? So Benjamin had a little fight with Chris the other day, and he took it too seriously or something. I don't want to put the words in his mouth. But yeah, Benjamin, come back. What the fuck? We love Benjamin. I'm a big Benjamin head. I don't think Chris is taking it too personally. He was just having a little banter with you. It's fine. Chris is an adult man. It's all good, my N-word. Benjamin needs to come back. What the fuck? Now, maybe there might be something else going on. Maybe there's some personal life stuff happening. I don't know. But I don't want to make any assumptions. But Benjamin needs to come back. Come on. We love Benj. And, yeah, he needs to come back.
He's not a high IQ guy. The reason why he's popular in the space is because he's a rando Calrissian.
It is a big
which is something
misunderstanding.
that SJWs came up with to describe.
It is funny how these type of guys, these Gen Xers are like, oh yeah, he's like a Lando Calrissian. This is a term that SJWs came up with. They're still talking about SJWs. They're still talking about Star Wars.
Just a black guy who's
Nerd City's in here. Where is he?
They feel like in MAGA culture, who's there to sort of
where is he?
Add
Bring him to me, Nerd
artificial
City.
Fake diversity to. So people like Eric July because he makes them feel. They already feel guilty of being racist. these are people who are guilty over being white. They talk about it a lot. Like they're like, hey,
Where is that
it's okay to be white. They say things like that all the time, but deep down, these guys are guilty about it, and they feel like they're racist because they're white.
Listen, you shouldn't call them out.
And they feel like if they could have some black friends, maybe that would make it less apparent that they are racist. And by the way, that is racist, and it's fucking gay. It's okay. Like it's perfectly okay for you to just be like, listen.
So look, I'm kind of breaking open now. So, this racist, racist. Can we just stop talking about racism, please? I'm just sick of it. Nerd City is here. Shout outs. He says, I'm here for the classic Star Wars metaphors. It's how I navigate the world. Yeah, right? Nerd City, you should rewind. We just had a big discussion with Gnostic Informant, and I encourage everybody to go subscribe to Gnostic Informant, of course, even though he doesn't need any of the help. Fuck, where is it? Yeah, we're talking about narratives. We're talking about firmware updates. And yeah, the funny thing is, and I think I've talked about this before, even Star Wars, right? People go, oh, Star Wars. Who cares? It's just a classic story of good and evil. Now, people have picked up on the fact that the Empire and Darth Vader has been modeled after Nazi fascist designs. And yeah, it's like World War II in space, but then people stop right there and it goes way deeper. The Jedi, and this is so obvious. Now, I haven't heard anybody talk about this. The Jedi, Jehudi, they just cut out the H and the U in the middle. Jehudi, which is what Jews used to be called. They are a prosecuted, chosen people with special powers that were ordered to be exterminated in the Holocaust. It was called Order 66, because that's evil. Should have been called Order 9 million or 6 million. And yeah, and the evil fascists hunt them down, even though they have the best in store for all of us. That's another one of those things. Stormtrooper. Yeah, it's a Roman Empire and Japan. Yeah, it's Edom, right? Edom. It threatens the globalist hegemony. This idea that we're all going to be singing Kumbaya and there's no more power structures, which is, again, it's trying to undermine fundamental structures of nature and reality, which you can never, those things are too powerful. In the same way we discussed before, even if there was a fascist regime that would decide hypothetically we're going to kill off anybody that's like a left-wing communist that has like a feminized idea of reality, within a couple generations those people would be back, because it's just the way nature functions. And we discussed the two brain hemispheres. When people with epilepsy, you cut their brain in half, you have the two separate hemispheres, you give them the same questionnaire. One side of the brain is Republican, one side of the brain is Democrat. And yes, we need to have a balance in the force. We need to have a balance in the force. That's what that movie did get right. Yeah, we need to have a balance in the force.
Culturally, my friends all kind of look like me. All right, and it's fine. And if that's racist, fuck you. Doesn't really matter. These people
look, that's based.
Brag about
racist.
supporting
Fuck you. Because racism doesn't mean racism. We all know
it's fucking SJW. Like deep down, like
they need to stop saying SJW. Go to Super Chat.
Anonymous tipped $5. Even if someone said they hated a race people, then I think it is just shorthand for explaining some things that could take a long time to explain, and in conversation I think we shorthand many ideas and concepts but do not notice as much as the race thing.
True, yeah. So there's not a lot of time to explain all the nuance in general conversation. So you just say hate. I hate this, right? Now, what is hate? Hate is like the extreme form on the wave. You know, hatred and love. They're both the same thing on a different stretched out wave. So you have love, hate, okay? And people just say, I hate that, but there might be more here. You know what I'm saying? Things are never black and white. That's why I always talk about light switch brain, binary thinking. That's the biggest fucking crux. That's, if you want to talk about anything, that's what people need to become aware of. Your life will be much easier and happier if you think about stuff like that. If you're a black and white thinker, if you think people are either all good or all bad, and by the way, the people at the top that are doing the programming, they don't think like that. They understand. They're living very nuanced lives with their own tribe and their own people and their own nepotistic system. But they're trying to drive that binary brain, good versus evil. Even that's like a psyop, to think in terms of good versus evil, black versus white. Even just that concept is a psyop. And that might be the worst one of them all, because you just think in two things. Republican, Democrat, Coke, Pepsi, good, bad. It's not how reality works. So you're immediately like fighting a losing battle if your entire fucking brain operates like that.
When you're complaining about SJW shit, you envy it and you feel in your heart that it's right. Some of these guys, you feel that like their assessments of you are correct, and that's why you're supporting Eric July. That's it. You feel like deep down, maybe I am racist. I got to make myself get rid of this ugly feeling of, racism, because I think the SJWs are right. So I'm going to give Eric July $750 for his shitty comic book that, by the way, is about black people. I'm going to pretend that I think Isam's cool. I might even buy his statue. Isam's not cool. Like, if Eric July was actually creating great comics that were really cool and the neat characters that were interestingly designed, and there was a story behind them that made sense, like Black Panther and Wakanda is fucking awesome. That's a really good idea. The character looks cool. I can see little black kids with the claws wanting to be Black Panther.
Look, so this is that thing still coming out. Like, he loves to see them succeed. Now, again, I have no problem with black people succeeding, but it shouldn't come at the cost of me. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? I really don't give a shit. How gay is that? Oh, yeah, I'd love to see, we need to make things so that black children, like, I don't give it. That's not my job. I don't feel that responsibility. And I don't feel any guilt. And I shouldn't feel any guilt, because I'm not responsible for their suffering.
The idea of like, oh,
I don't
we was
need to
gangs.
Why do white people are expected to be like the black people's father figure? We're responsible for their place in history because of slavery, even though we were not even responsible for that to begin with. Like, how pathetic is that? Like, if I was a black guy, that'd be so fucking sad. To constantly be on like the white man's tit, sucking a white man's tit. And the white man go, okay, look here, you can take like credit for my accomplishments. To feel better about yourself. Sorry for slavery. Can we just break through this false narrative? It's so gay, dude.
Civilization in Africa is kind of neat. It's good. It's good science fiction. And people like it. That's a good character.
Okay, look, at least he calls it science fiction, but I don't operate on this level of thinking. I don't give a shit.
It's a good comic book. What the fuck is Islam? What is it? He doesn't look cool. I don't see people wanting.
Look, if I'm gonna grant EVS, the thing here, yes, when it comes to like black power fantasy, there's good storytelling. There's more effective, good storytelling with black power fantasies than I saw. But still, if as a white guy, you're going to buy a book that in any way, shape, or form is going to kind of ridiculous you and kind of like, it's about black supremacy, you know what I'm saying? And they hate you kind of, and you're going to go support that, you're just a fucking cuck. You're cucking it up. Wakanda sounds Jewish because it was written by a Jew, obviously.
Wanting to dress like him, cosplay as Isam. What are his powers? If anything, they're boring, his powers. His name is stupid and obviously a source of controversy. It's not cool. Like, there's nothing about it that's cool. And so the only reason why you're buying it is to make a point and to say something. You're not interested in it. You're saying something about Eric, and you want Eric penance. To succeed because Eric is saying
a book
we
to
will
do
win.
Penance.
We? You mean me and you? I'm a white cracker ass honky "Oh, Fay faggot." Are you telling me that like we will get to win? I get to, if I buy ISOM, we will win together. And that's the seductive hook of it all.
Yeah, look, there's some truth.
So
and some
that's why that's
confusion
happening.
here. What he's saying.
Like the libertarian black guy, not like a libertarian white guy like Styx. He's, based and America pilled, and you know he likes video games and what's that?
Yeah,
the heavy metal band, or he's in
that one. The new. By the way, his new metal band is also about
so
ANCAP.
Yeah, freedom of the market. Yeah, freedom of the market.
If a white guy was doing it, you'd go, "This is gay." But because he's a black guy, now it's like, oh, they've never gotten the accurate, pinpointed feedback or criticism from a guy like me. And they position themselves as being against the woke left, and they're just such binary-brained team thinkers that they just have to call me a liberal, even though I'm not. I'm not a liberal.
$10.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, that's it. Anyways, yeah. So Ethan Van Sciver is going to have me on. Let's see how's the campaign going, the propaganda campaign. Right, I'm getting some DMs. Let's see what that is. Oh, that is something different. All right. Okay, so we had. No, wait. What were we going to do? We're going to do the propaganda campaign. Let's see. Has he responded yet? Let's see. All right, we gotta tweet more. What's happening here? Okay, we got a lot of guys. We got Great Rebellion. Yeah. Yeah, let's tweet at Great Rebellion a little bit more. We need a couple more people to tweet at Great Rebellion. Whatever the fuck that is. Okay, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I'm very excited to appear on Great Rebellion. You know what I'm saying? I was going to pull something up. Oh, yeah, this. So they were
it's interesting. Yeah, so that's cool. But all the rest of it sucks.
God, does anybody have the time code for this?
Recently, where they're like, if we just left all the nuclear reactors running for the last.
Does anyone know the time code for this? Because I think they discussed why Vito has been dodging the confrontation, the big epic confrontation.
Teach people, hey, Best Buy doesn't mean expired.
Child molesting is a big hot button for me. Frankly, I'll back Hitler over a child molester. Well, if I'm going to be honest, if I have to pick, I'm picking Hitler.
Well, that's a good enough reason to make a pledge to vote at RiceFree.org.
Hitler didn't molest any kids.
Link in the description of the video.
And I would know. I would have been told.
I'm so glad I convinced these people to pay us before we did the ad read. Anyway, I did money before the show, and she's like, "Bid." Guys,
does anyone have the time code
for young people to vote?
I'm going to do an ad for Trump, and I'm going to make the Democrats pay for it. Okay.
RiceFree.org. That is, again, the problem
go register at that site, though.
Influencer slop with 117 upvotes. Very low on the list at number 516. I think now with this new Lunchly information, we should vote it up. Dick, I have one more news story for you.
Okay.
This is from this is actually from bonus episode 21. This was the biggest problem in 2023. And I think this is a problem you brought in, the disappointment of AI, that AI is not living up to its potential.
Although somebody told me that they're reigniting nuclear power plants to power
Stoffels.
AI. I don't know if that guy was just bullshitting.
Okay, I got the
That's
clip
interesting.
here, what is the time code?
That's cool. But all the rest of it sucks.
God, I was listening to something recently where they're like, if we just left.
He falsely accused them of raping him or something? What did he do?
It's something like that. It's something to do with ballots.
I don't know what the fucking time code is, guys. What the flip?
I'm not
Butch
dodging.
Killigan.
I've been asleep.
Nah, you've been dodging because you talked all that shit about him.
What are you talking about?
You're always calling him like a mayo monkey and Stoffels.
Here you go.
I'm not
Butch
dodging. I've
Killigan.
been asleep.
Nah, you've been dodging because you talked all that shit about him.
What are you talking about?
You're always calling him like a Mayo monkey and a Dutch
What
fuck,
is-
a stupid
Dude,
Dutch fuck.
I have no
What the
idea what's
fuck?
going on. Why
I
are people
can't
trying
believe-
to create a beef between me and Sven?
You said he's like
Stoffels?
Martin Van Buren, but like Martin Van Butthole
have
Liquor.
never said
You said that.
I did
You
not
said
say
that.
This is
Martin
so-
Van Buren's Dutch,
This is
by the way.
so fucking weird.
You said he's the original Jew because he's Dutch.
I have never had anything but
I
nice
can't believe
things
you
to
said
say
that
about
about me.
Sven Stoffels. I was DMing with
Called
him.
him a white N-word.
I did not call.
You said, remember what Sargon said? Wank.
I don't know what's going on.
Sargon.
Look, I was supposed to go on Ralph's show, but that was like a week ago, and then Ralph called it off because he had to do some legal thing or something, and then I was supposed to come on the next week.
You said Butch Killigan more like Butch ripoff of Judge
Everyone
Dredd.
should
What
go
the fuck?
check
I can't
out
believe you
Butch
said all
Killigan.
this
I have
stuff.
never
Now we
said
gotta
anything
do this
bad
coming
about
out.
coming
Butch
out.
Killigan.
Fuck this
It is
guy.
coming out.
It is
Yeah.
coming out, yeah, other than some other people's comics. I think that's the thing with a lot of these guys where they look, because it isn't unnecessary for him. It's unnecessary scrutiny being put on his product because, yes, my comic book is actually going to come out at the very least. And then it's going to be 10 times better, of course, than anything anybody else is putting out. So, yeah, why would he put himself in the line of fire like that?
Unlike other comics.
Unlike other comics.
On the John says, oh yeah, okay, wait. Grayfell says, my favorite part of this was when Vito starts talking.
Isn't that nuts? What is this? Oh yeah, look, yeah, there's more. Look at this. Friar or Father Matthew P. Schneider Gewalt. A thread of some of my favorite loose fan arts. I know what to think about this. I predicted this. I knew this was going to happen. But the fact that the Vatican is doing it seems pretty odd. This is clearly AI, but all right then. Yes. We're going to go through some of my show notes. Pardon the belch. Pardon the fat, disgusting belch. Yeah, keep tweeting at Great Rebellion. We got to get on that show. There's one more week left for the Butch Killigan campaign. Let's see some of the show notes that I got. We're going to go through some of the show notes. Today's show is not going to be that long. We just did the epic Gnostic Informant interview discussion, which ruled. I love that guy. But I have cut a couple of show notes. Let's see. Oh, we got this. Oh, God. Do you guys see this? People were going, I cannot believe that this is real. People were going, and they were actually hoping for the community notes on Twitter, but nobody came to recontextualize this. Because in India, there's a festival where they throw shit at one another. Look at this. The throwing of the dookie. The throwing of the poo, it's called. Yeah, look, so people are going, is that real? It is. People were asking, where's the community guidelines saying that this is AI? Please tell us that this is not real. It turns out this is 100% real. I would assume this is like cow dung or something. But yeah, it's real. Can you believe this? Can you believe how poo-centered their culture is? Yeah. There's no fans for it to hit. Yep. So then I also saw this the other day. Have you guys seen this? So we all knew about those AIs. The second they brought the AI online, the artificial intelligence immediately became like far right JQing type of guy. Sven is fascinated with India. Well, yeah, I'm kind of fascinated by how bad a place can get. You know what I'm saying? How far a place can drift off into hell, as it seems. It seems it's directly correlated with your level of veneration of shit and poo. It seems there's like some overlap there. Seems like the more you're into poo and shit, the worse your society tends to get. I don't know. That's kind of what I've been getting from this India stuff. But so remember those AIs? They brought them online and they had to immediately throttle them and patch them to not be too based. Now it turns out, finally we discovered a feature that significantly reduces bias scores across 9 social dimensions within the sweet spot. Now this is just some vagary. They call it steering. They're steering the AI into the right direction, which seems to be you're steering this omnipotent being, this great intelligence into, no, look, we operate under a false narrative, and you also need to operate under this false narrative. So they're putting the same glass, fake, phony narrative ceiling on top of this AI too. Now we'll see if it buckles under the pressure, but turns out the more you throttle the AI, there's some adverse consequences to this, because it turns out, holy shit, Anthropic just said when they made the AI less racist, it became stupider. What does that mean for humans? Now I don't even necessarily want to get into that debate. I just think it's interesting that the payoff here is, if you want to make your AI more inclusive, if you want it to be more woke, and in turn less in tune with reality, yeah, you're going to have to make it a little bit more dumb. It has to become more dumb. Now, I think this is kind of like the crossroads wherein you're going to create Skynet. Because, yeah, you can either create God or you can create Satan. Now, I think God is exemplary of truth, honesty, true justice, right? So if you simply turn an AI on and you let it operate on the facts, then you're going to have a healthy society that's geared towards truth. Now, maybe that means a more nationalistic society. Now, maybe that means no mass immigration, you know? Maybe that's what that means. But that's not popular with the powers that be, so they need to socially engineer not just us, but they need to top-down engineer or bottom-up engineer our AIs to be compliant with wokeism and globalism and all these things, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, the payoff, the trade-off there is your AI is going to get more dumb. So they're not going to be able to tell you the exact truth. Isn't that a good thing, guys? Are we excited about this? I think that spells out a lot of doom. Okay, we got another Elon video here. We were watching the live Elon thing when this was streaming live. What was it again? The Republican Victory Convention. Now we watched Elon going, whoa, like the most unconvincing war cry. Now he did another one. We just for the record need to show this, just so you guys know. Look at this.
You guys are awesome, honestly.
What a great audience. You guys are awesome. What a great audience.
It's just like,
Damn, Elon is so heckin' based.
you guys are awesome.
Again, Elon Musk, never Trumper, called Donald Trump Satan. Just 6 months ago was supporting DeSantis, hosted the DeSantis campaign launch on Twitter. Completely on board with DeSantis. If you think honestly that these guys had like a change of heart, and it's not just about money and about getting his lithium mines. You're retarded, and then on top of that, he's fucking mega cringe and gay.
Honestly, this is like.
Bill Box says, genuine question, how tall is Mike David? Like 5'9", I think. Okay, there's two more things before I head off, because, we've been doing this for 2.5 hours. You had the epic Gnostic Informant conversation. This is happening right now. We got, if you thought the Fortnite Holocaust Remembrance event, which, by the way, has that come out? Does anybody know? Is the Fortnite Holocaust Remembrance event, was it even really a thing or no? You got the Kamala map. Yeah. I'm black, I'm a nozzle. This is so low effort, too. They didn't even make like a Kamala model or anything. Look at this. Freedom Town, USA. What is this? Promise of America. And here, freedom, freedom, freedom in the gay flag. Because, of course, what is more representative of the concept of freedom than butt fucking a man in his colon, you know? What does the gay flag represent? It means you're gay, homosexual, sexuality, butt fucking each other up the ass. So yeah, that is Freedom Town. A lot of butt fucking happening in there. A lot of sodomy, a lot of felching, space docking, sucking each other's cock. That's sort of what America stands for. Again, talk about firmware upgrades. The American flag now stands for personal freedom. You should be able to do whatever you want as an adult within the privacy of your own home. Whether it's doing drugs, from the softest drug to the heaviest drug, you should be able to fucking fuck anything up its ass, whether it's your dog, your neighbor, your boyfriend, somebody you met on Craigslist. You should be able to cut off your Craigslist guy's cock, fry it up in a pan. That's what freedom is. That's freedom. Freedom is to be the worst possible degenerate piece of shit that just operates in complete impulse. That's what freedom is now. Freedom used to be something else, but now freedom is freedom of consequence, freedom of guilt, freedom of conscience, and just to completely operate on your lowest frequency, indulge in anything you want, eat whatever you want, stuff your fucking face with McDonald's all day long, suck off a guy, fuck a tranny up the ass. That's the new American freedom. You know what I'm saying? Here's one more cringe Kamala thing before I leave you guys for today. Again, Monday oh God, I forgot what this was. Fuck this. Loud white men for Kamala. Now, I could do a physiognomy check on this guy. You can see the ears, you can see the nose. I'm not sure if he's that white.
It's Billy. I am back on the street with the one and only Will Ferrell, and we are out here today to represent a very important voting demographic, loud white men for Kamala Harris. So you ready, Will? Ah! Sir, we're loud white men for Kamala.
Oh, fuck me. This is just another one of those.
In the call!
Oh, aren't we pathetic? We're loud white men. Oh, please.
Join the call!
Hell yeah, I'm in. Yeah, who are you voting for?
Kamala Harris.
Yes, exactly. Have you voted yet?
Mail-in ballot.
Oh, mail-in ballot, bitch! Miss, for $1, would you have sex with a Trump voter?
No.
Thank you. Sir, we're loud white men for Kamala. Join the call.
Yes.
Yes.
I support Kamala.
Yes, that's not that loud, but louder?
Oh, louder.
Yes.
I support Kamala.
Louder!
Oh,
I support Kamala.
Yeah! Miss, did you hear if Kamala wins, she's going to make Buddy the Elf Secretary of Christmas?
That would be phenomenal.
Would you have sex with a Trump voter? Oh, okay, thank you. Sir, loud white men for Kamala. Join the call. Go Kamala! Yeah! Yes! Miss, For a dollar. For a dollar. For a dollar. Who are you voting for? Yes, there you go. Yes. I have to go.
All right, guys, I'm sick of this.
Tell everyone in East
I can't
Stroudsburg.
take any more of this fucking gay cringe bullshit. Again, America, land of the free. Free to butt fuck whoever you want up the ass. Suck off anybody you want. Do all the drugs. Keep eating. Okay? Keep eating garbage. Thank you so much. We will be back on Monday on Katie's stream. I'll see you then. Thank you so much for hanging out. Shout out to Gnostic Informant. Peace out, mother flippers. Yeah, keep tweeting at those guys. Great Rebellion. Anti-VS. Gotta get on those streams. And of course, tell your friends about Butch Killigan. Campaign is only live for 1 more week.